All right. First audit of ever of the
First audit
year.
of 2024.
Yeah, Biden's cracking down. Everyone did warn you that we're going to start cracking down, and we got new enforcers. This is part of it. These YouTubers just making money for putting out shit content. We're on to you. We're auditing you.
You know what? They got the IRS agents that now have guns. We are also part of another subdivision. We are going to be auditing YouTube content. Too many people have been putting out content thinking they can get away with putting out subpar material, not paying their capital gains tax.
That's right.
Not, so we're here to audit them, making sure that all their content's up to snuff, making sure that all the paperwork filed the way it needs to
Right.
be.
Right.
We're here
Just
just
quality checks for the community, really. I mean, it's a service.
I mean, it doesn't pay shit.
No, no.
If anything, this should go towards my community service. We're not going to talk about that.
Uh,
So who do we have on the docket today?
So we have a friend of the channel. No, I have no idea who this guy is. This guy's name is Broken Ronin. Just a quick look at his channel. And actually, yeah, let's do that real quick. Do.
Percy Jackson.
Shut up! Don't shut up! No, it's not. All right. So Broken Ronin, he looks like he's mainly an anime tuber. Covers a lot of Jujutsu Kaisen. His past 6 videos for Jujutsu Kaisen. Then the inspiration. So he's probably talking about the shonens before. Oh, look, I've actually watched one of these videos. Look at that. Yeah, so this is a guy who is picked up a lot of steam in the past year or so, talking a lot about Jujutsu Kaisen. I'm trying to find his first video. He puts out content pretty regularly. I want to say once a week.
Hey, it looks really regular. Okay, so his first video was 3 years ago. It looks like it's the most realistic main character, Ichigo Kurosaki. So he's talking about Bleach,
Yeah.
and then he immediately jumps on to
Well,
Jujutsu
I mean,
Kaisen.
and then he goes to Killua, and then Blue Lock. It looks like he's bouncing around, and then clearly Gojo right here took off. This is 117K views. This is his first video to really fucking take off. And so, of course, we start seeing just Jujutsu Kaisen pumped out. And it seems like he found his audience here, which is fine. I mean, Jujutsu Kaisen is one of the most popular anime out right now. There is an audience to be found of people who know what they're talking about and are familiar with both the show and just anime in general. So he's got
Yeah,
120K subscribers with 350 videos after 3 years. So pretty fast success in terms of YouTube lifespan. I mean, having an audience at 120K after 3 years is, that's pretty good.
It's very, very fast, rapid growth. I really hope that there's no hiding information in offshore accounts here. I think it's going to be really interesting to see whether or not this actually keeps he actually keeps the amount of steam that he seems to be getting from a lot of these lobotomy Kaizen fans.
Now, what's interesting is and we kind of scrolled through it fast, but this is the first time he's ever mentioned Percy Jackson, which I think the comments we might scroll through later. They also seemed pretty surprised by the fact that Percy Jackson is here. And yeah, obviously this is going to be the video we're covering at least first. We might jump over and look at some other ones, maybe the first one he's put out. Oh yeah, I could have just hit oldest. Huh? Shows what I know. Of course, the government inept at using its own services. But
Unless if I see any of you in the comments say government officials are bad at using computers, I will ban you. I will ban you personally.
I will audit you. I'll find you.
Your channel will be audited next if I see a single comment that says that. If I see a single comment.
Now, the comments seemed pretty opposed to the idea that Percy Jackson would even stand a chance against most characters. I would say that if
These
you
are
think,
Jujutsu Kaisen fans, they can't read. So they don't know who this character is, of course.
if you think that Percy Jackson stands no chance against the average sorcerer, I would recommend you go read the books again. Percy Jackson's a menace.
Jujutsu Kaisen fans, they can't read.
Easy, dude. I like this anime too. But yeah,
Can you read?
I can read. Yes.
Why the fuck are you watching Jujutsu Kaisen? Wait, next thing you're gonna tell me is you watch Dragon Ball.
I do. I also. Don't look at my wallpaper, dude. Okay, forbidden knowledge. All right, so. Percy Jackson's strong. When it comes to defensive capabilities, I'm assuming we're going to be taking Percy Jackson at his strongest, right? We're going to be talking about the Stygian Blessing. This is right before the ending of the last book in the first series, the Lightning Thief series. Because by the Son of Neptune, Percy gets his Stygian Blessing washed away when he crosses the river that is the boundary between San Francisco and I cannot remember what the name of the Roman camp is. I know the Greek camp is Camp Half-Blood, but it'll come to me. But Percy gets a lot of power boost in the Heroes of Olympus series, but this is post Stygian Blessing.
Camp Jupiter.
You're right. There you go. Thank you. So Percy Jackson loses his Stygian Blessing shortly before arriving to Camp Jupiter, and he does get a lot of power boosts after that to make up for the fact. But I assume we're going to be taking Percy with Stygian Blessing because I don't know how Percy deals with a bunch of the strongest characters without the boon of if you hit anywhere but the small of his back, it doesn't do anything. That being said, I don't see how he has any way to deal with Gojo. I'm really interested to see what he says about that. I don't think he deals with Sukuna at all. Like, this thumbnail's crazy talk. Sukuna's just gonna cleave his entire body. Malevolent Shrine, cleave your whole shit. It doesn't matter if only one point of you can be hit. Malevolent Shrine targets everything. If it can target Gojo through infinity, I'm pretty sure it can find the one weak spot in Percy's armor.
I would argue that strong cleave in itself.
That's right.
Would bypass the Stygian Blessing.
There's no way he's dealing with Joe Goat. I mean, the guy will just burn him at range. It doesn't matter if you have one weak point. If I just melt that one weak point with at distant range fire, also Coffin of the Iron Mountain. Then we can talk about Gojo. Of course, how's he even going to hit Gojo? Gojo is able to manipulate Percy still. Remember, Percy can still have contact made to him. The Stygian Blessing doesn't prevent contact, and he also has been pushed away and batted away while having this blessing. So it seems perfectly fine that Gojo would be able to manipulate the space around Percy, or maybe even create a singularity and just fucking crush him like a tin can. Also, we don't even have to talk about Infinite Void, just uploading infinite knowledge into Percy's brain and making him comatose. So Percy gets walled by most of the special grades. Now, there could be arguments.
Yeah, because I don't think Percy's shown to have any sort of like mental resistance feats, is he?
I don't want to say he doesn't because it's been so long since I've read the books, but I want to say in the Heroes of Olympus story, there's a couple times where Gaia isn't trying to brainwash him per se, but is definitely fucking with his head and during his dream. I mean, she's doing that with all the heroes. Anytime they have dreams, Gaia's fucking with their head and putting visions in there and messing with them. And obviously, Percy falls into Hades with Annabeth, and that requires an insane amount of mental toughness to be able to make it through Tartarus when monsters are instantly regenerating as you kill them, and the love of your life is very weak and hurt, and you're both battered beyond belief. But when it comes to actual mental hacks, no, I don't think there's a way. And Sukuna didn't have a real way to deal with the mental hacks that were Infinite Void. He just had, luckily, like a body shield. He just used Megami every time. So, and Megami, and then he used Maharaga. I'm not seeing how.
Also, I guess we should have said this way earlier. We will be doing full spoilers for the manga on Jujutsu Kaisen. So if you're not caught up, you get fucked so far.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Not much that we can do about that. If we're talking about whether or not a character can solo all of the universe, we're gonna have to talk about all of the universe. So, I mean, this should be a spoiler right now that you're seeing on screen with fucking. Well, I guess he did use a spoiler-free thumbnail because that's Yuji's body possessed by Sukuna, not Megami, isn't it? Huh. Coward. But all right, I mean, I guess that's enough prelude. I'm interested to see what the arguments could be for why he almost solos. Because I mean, he's saying almost, so he definitely loses to some people. But I'm wondering what arguments we're going to be coming with.
I'm also curious to see how much like just wank he's going to get from being a book character, since this guy he's obviously hasn't done any legitimate book characters before yet.
Yeah, I'm definitely interested to see that as well.
But I'm very interested to see what this guy has to say.
Yeah, and I can be convinced. I like Percy Jackson, so the idea that I'm completely opposed to the idea that Percy Jackson, because that's essentially what I just said, right? Like, I think it gets walled by special grades, but people saying that, you know, he stands no chance. I think if Yuji is able to stand a credible chance against the threats of his verse, Percy is basically a Yuji. I mean, he's got physical enhancements, maybe not to Yuji or Toji's extent, but I mean, he's stronger and faster than the average person. He has water manipulation to the extent where he can summon hurricanes. He's got extremely good combat skills. I would argue being able to 1v1 the God of War when you're 13, 12 is an insane feat, and I would actually say he might beat Toji. Depends on if the curse of the Heavenly Spear bypasses the Stygian Blessing, if we're counting that. That would be the craziest take of this video, is if he's not taking Stygian Blessing Percy, and he's like, no, post Stygian Blessing. We're talking Heroes of Olympus, where, you know, you can just stab him and he'll die.
I think if he takes that, I think it's going to be severely nerfing his capabilities.
And this is what I'm going to come to. One of my biggest criticisms of Heroes of Olympus: you can give Percy all the buffs in the world, but not being able to die to any hit is a really strong buff. And so he had to nerf Percy for the stakes going forward at the very start of Heroes of Olympus. And sure, he gives Percy bigger and badder feats as the series goes on, but it's still Percy at the end of the first series solos Percy at the end of Heroes of Olympus. If you take away the fact that future Percy would know where the weak point is, you know, like if you're just taking these two people thrown at each other, but one of them has one spot that they can be hurt by, yeah, I'm gonna give it to that guy nearly every time.
All right, guys, in the comments right now, tell us right now, do you think the Stygian Blessing is going to be the main determining factor in this matchup versus this universe? Before we even start the video, I want the comment right now. Don't cheat. We will know if you cheat. The government will know if you cheat.
We're always
Go comment it right now.
Another thing I'm interested, because I'm almost suspicious. Do you think if he does talk about the Stygian Blessing, do you think he's going to say it's basically infinity, which will be wrong? That'll be a wrong statement, and we'll get to that, but the biggest one is that infinity prevents contact, while the Stygian Blessing perfectly allows contact. It just doesn't do anything, or doesn't do any damage, I should say.
It's stated directly in the books that people still touch Percy.
Yeah, claws rake off his chest. The Furies at the beginning of the first book are chasing Percy across San Francisco, and he keeps mentioning he doesn't know how he's alive. His clothes are tattered. The talons are raking across his chest. So you can certainly make contact with him. Kronos makes contact with him plenty of times at the end of the first series. I mean, backhands him several times and sends him flying. So... or I don't know if he actually backhands him. Maybe he hits him with a wave of energy. Percy gets launched a couple times, even with the Stygian Blessing. So,
do you think that he's going to count Percy's pin sword in the same way they would count it in Jujutsu Kaisen as a curse tool?
Well, yeah, I think you would have to do that. I think that's kind of one of the consistent rules you have to be willing to do. Is like, okay, we're not going to call chakra and ki something else and be like, well, Genjutsu works by manipulating the chakra in a person's brain, and Goku doesn't have chakra, so it's like no. We're gonna equate them as best we can. So, it is made very clearly stated in the books that Celestial Bronze and Imperial Gold. That's not it. It's Celestial Bronze and I can't fucking remember. But these are specially made weapons that are made specifically to hurt monsters and immortals. So demigods can be hurt by normal weapons and godly weapons, basically. Humans, like, you use a celestial bronze weapon on a human, it passes right through them. It's harmless. And then mortal weapons are kind of like, if you use a mortal weapon on a mortal being or a monster, it does nothing. So that's kind of the rule set. So yeah, I would 100% say that if you took Riptide into the Jujutsu Kaisen verse, it would be a cursed tool. It would have cursed energy, which is, the bronze that, is able to kill you. And if you brought Jujutsu Kaisen, a character, into the Percy Jackson series, they would be treated as a demigod, but their powers come from a god we don't know about. It'd be like, well, Gojo can't have powers because, non-demigod mortals don't have powers unless you're, an oracle or something. Like, no. Gojo would, be his own thing or whatever the fuck. He it doesn't matter. We try to equate power systems where we can. So yeah, I would hope that we count it as a curse tool. I would count it as a curse tool. I hope he would.
All right, without further introduction, then.
Yeah, let's see what we got going here. 25 minutes.
Broken Ronin, the floor is yours.
Percy Jackson, the greatest character.
Wait, hold on. I gotta make sure people can actually hear it, right? I don't know. What happens if I press play?
Percy Jackson, the greatest character in fiction,
Okay.
almost solos Jujutsu Kaisen. And in this
Alright, so immediately off the bat, a very bold statement.
Greatest character in fiction, you now have to back up. If it's your favorite character in fiction, it's fine, but no, Percy Jackson's not the greatest character in fiction. I like Percy Jackson a whole lot, but we're gonna have to talk about.
I think there are plenty of teenage girls who would disagree with you.
Well, that's fine. I also don't like Taylor Swift, but look.
Death threat.
I don't dislike her as a person. Jesus, I just don't listen to her music. Oh God. Look, if he's your favorite, that's absolutely fine. That's an admirable pick. But if we're talking about greatest, man, we're gonna have to start bringing up like the Aragorns, the fucking Boromir. I'm just gonna go through like the Lord of the Rings cast, but I mean, God.
The first group to fight is just the Lord of the Rings cast.
Well, yeah, I mean, unfortunately, that's going to be the golden standard. It's like, okay, yeah, you're arguing for one of the goats. Compare him to Boromir. Go. It's like, no, you're never going to approach the depth that Boromir has in a movie. Sorry. I love Percy. I relate to Percy on a bunch of different ways. I mean, a kid that likes the water and had a mom who was his birth mom and had a stepdad that was mean to him. I fuck with the Lightning Thief on a whole bunch of different levels. If you like him, if he's your favorite, and we're not gonna spend too much time on this. And by the way, this is not too much time for us. Just pausing for a minute or so to talk about this is not unusual. But yeah. Perfectly fine with him being one of your favorites, but I don't think we're going to get an argument. I think he's just going to flash GOAT on the screen and we're going to move on because he's just, when people say this character's the GOAT or the greatest character in all of fiction, what they really mean is I really, really, really like this character. Because I'm sorry, if you thought...
They're just being extremely hyperbolic, but yeah. I want to pause on that just because I want the audience to be aware these are statements that will be said by people. They're going to be taken with these things that they say, and we're going to comment on the things said. We're not going to skirt past this. This is a comment made, so we are going to focus on it.
Right, and I mean, I think what's really interesting to think about, and I'd have to go through and check every video, so I could be wrong here, but I think it's interesting that you think Percy Jackson's the greatest character of all time, but you felt no motivation to make a single video about him up until now, and you had to connect it to Jujutsu Kaisen. Like, why isn't this a video just talking about the depth and the greatness of Percy Jackson? Obviously, you've never been motivated to do that, even though the start of your channel was talking about the depth of certain characters, Bleach and Gon and all that shit. So, whatever. You really like Percy Jackson, just say that. It's fine. But let's go ahead.
this video, I will be explaining exactly why that's the case. Now, in versus battle matchups like these, I typically don't waste any time introducing the presented characters or series, but considering that I usually don't cover anime and manga exclusively, I figured that a basic rundown of who Percy Jackson is would be appropriate. For all intents and purposes, Percy Jackson is the title character of his own book series that exists in a universe in which Greek mythology and the mythology of multiple other parts of the world are real and influential in the present day.
Okay, so this is mostly correct if we're only talking about the Percy Jackson series. He would be the main character of the Percy Jackson series. In the Heroes of Olympus, it is more of a George R.R. Martin style, where it's shifting perspective. I wouldn't argue there is a main character of Heroes of Olympus. If anything, it's probably Leo. Leo saves the fucking world. But the two mainest characters that you're going to root for the most are going to be Jason and Percy. But obviously, we're talking about... It's literally called the Percy Jackson series, right? It's the OG series. So we might just be talking about the OG series. We might not be covering Heroes of Olympus, which would be a good move on his part, because then we would just be talking about Stygian blessing Percy, so...
Zeus, Poseidon, Hades, and many other Greek deities are active in the everyday life.
I said deity. It's fine, you can pronounce it like that. It's interesting. And I always note, like, people say deity or deity.
Deity.
I wonder if you can find like a correlation between what people actually believe and their pronunciation of that word.
Oh, like their viewpoints that they might have combined with
Yeah, you ever wonder if people who are like really monotheistic will always say like deity versus deity? It just popped into my head. Like I wonder if that's like a common thing. That's like
the more I think about it, deity is probably more correct because deus, right? Like deus ex machina. You don't say deus. You say deus ex machina, right? So deity probably makes more sense.
I've heard people call it deus.
No, it's not deus. It's deus. Deus ex machina is like the most common way I've ever heard it. Like, so yeah, I'm not calling them out on it. I just think it's interesting because you can pronounce all these words. Hey guys, we do this, by the way. Just get comfortable.
Types of mortals, and oftentimes foster children with them. These children are known as demigods or half-bloods, literally being half.
Man, that art just...
not great, but that's... I think that might be official art.
It 100% is official art. God, the fucking 5-head, dude.
Dude, he's like 12. No, you didn't look great at 12 either. Incorrect. I came up with a chiseled jaw.
Yeah, I was 6'5", Chad, 12.
Mortal and half-god. Percy is one of these half-bloods and a particularly strong one. Being the son of Poseidon, the god of the sea, Percy has a myriad of water-based...
Stop using the movie promotional images. It's triggering me a lot. Stop it. I know that you're doing it for like, oh, look at the cool special effects, but fucking stop reminding me.
My significant other very much likes the live action version. She plays it she plays it all the time.
Has she read the books?
Yes.
How the fuck can she like the movies if she's read the books? I'm actually kind of offended.
Because she likes the spectacle.
I'm actually gonna flame her the next time I come over. I'm not gonna forget this. This is gonna piss me off for like the next couple of days.
No,
I can't, dude.
No, the next time you come over, ask her if she likes the live action Percy Jackson series. She's gonna go, well, yeah.
And then I'm gonna go, so do you hate the original series then? Do you hate everything that was great about the first book?
Do you want to shoot the author in the face?
Well,
repeatedly?
Dude, like the first movie, that could be a... That wouldn't be a CRS video, but that could be a video for us to go over. I don't know how we do it. It's just you would have to read the first book, and then we would be familiar with the book. Just the Lightning Thief. All you'd have to read is the Lightning Thief.
What we're gonna do is for live recording,
we're just gonna read all.
We'll read through the Lightning Thief. We'll react to the audiobook, and then we'll watch the movie. One will take significantly longer than the other one.
No. Like the Lightning Thief wouldn't. If you just sat down, you could probably read it in an afternoon. It's like 300 pages, but all it would take is for you to read the Lightning Thief, and then for us to watch the movie, and then it would just be like, look, from a longtime fan of the series versus someone who just read the Lightning Thief, we're gonna watch this movie, and it. When I tell you, there's like. You know how I can't remember what kind of water it is or what kind of like drink it is, but you know how the meme is it tastes like someone set a fruit in the room next to water.
Oh yeah, you're talking about LaCroix.
Yeah. The movie is like the LaCroix of the book. It's like you set the book next to a script while a typewriter was going off automatically.
It's like you put the showrunner in a room next to the room that's playing the audiobook.
It's like there are pearls in it, and gods exist, and Percy is the son of Poseidon, but like the order and the execution and the way they do everything is like this is one of my biggest gripes with it, and it's kind of going to be a spoiler, but they took my favorite scene from the first book and they turned it into a dumb CGI battle in the skyline of New York. So in the book, you are not made aware who the traitor is that sabotaged Percy and gave him this enchanted backpack that would like fill the Master Bolt when he got into the underworld. He got these boots that malfunctioned these like winged shoes that malfunctioned really weird when he got to the underworld, and he always thought this was some god fucking with him, or maybe the effects of the underworld, or whatever have you. We never actually found out who the Lightning Thief was through most of the first book. You know, the climactic fight is finding out that Ares is actually the god who's trying to assist the Lightning Thief, and you know Percy fights him, but we don't actually know who his contact is until the end of summer camp, the last day. And Luke, Percy's best friend, who's been there for him and first took him in, because when you're a newcomer and you're an unclaimed, you go with the Hermes cabin, and Luke's head of the Hermes cabin. Luke was basically Annabeth's older brother. Like he was one of the half-bloods with Annabeth and Talia that brought Annabeth here. So Annabeth has a major crush on him. And he's basically like big bro to Percy. Like big bros him throughout most of the first book. Like schools him, teaches him everything about the way of the world when Annabeth isn't there doing exposition. So it's the last day of summer camp. Luke has 2 cans of fresh Coke, and you know it's hard to get actual cans because you can get a goblet that just refills whenever you want. And somehow Luke has like actual cans of Coke. And he goes, hey, Percy, you know, like, you want to take one last walk through the woods before we have to go home for school? And, you know, Percy's like, yeah, of course, let's go. So they start walking through, and they're drinking the Cokes, and they're just talking. And it seems like a perfectly innocuous conversation. Luke's asking him about the events of the year and, you know, like, kind of asking him about his quest and what it was like. And then Luke does something very weird. He throws his soda can down into the woods. And anyone who stayed at Camp Half-Blood knows you do not litter. This is a world where the trees are literally alive. They will get up and walk out of their tree and chase you down and fuck with you. You don't litter. Unless you're not intending to stay. And there's another interesting thing that is kind of always seen as a little bit odd, but never really common. No, actually, I'm completely wrong. Luke pulls out his new sword. Doesn't tell Percy where he gets it. And he says he's named it Backbiter. And what's interesting about this sword, what makes it special, is that it's half celestial bronze and half normal steel. Which means it could harm a normal human and a demigod. In fact, it might hurt a demigod worse than a normal celestial bronze sword, because it's both mortal and immortal damage. But, you know, I don't actually remember if that's a detail. It reveals that sword. And then Percy's vision starts going hazy, because Luke is not going to take his chances with a fucking sword fight with a son of the Big Three who just 1v1'd Ares. He surprises him and catches him off guard with a poisonous creature that basically paralyzes him. And Luke doesn't kill him. Luke basically tells him, you know, I've chosen this way. The gods are fucked up. I'm gonna show them. Blah blah blah. Don't remember the exact confrontation. And then Luke leaves, and it's revealed that it was Luke. Luke was the one who stole the lightning bolt during the last solstice. He's the one who put it enchanted in that backpack, kind of with the same return enchantment that Percy's pen has, but it was conditioned to where it would only return the Master Bolt to him once he got to the underworld. He also gave Percy the winged boots that were cursed to try to pull the wearer into Tartarus once you cross the threshold into the underworld. Luke's goal was to get the son of Poseidon to die while in Hades' realm, while in possession of Zeus's weapon. It was going to cause a massive war between the big three and basically tear apart the gods. And, both are being manipulated by Kronos. This is what Kronos wanted. And Percy avoided that. But that doesn't mean that Kronos' ultimate goal isn't going to be accomplished through his most valuable agent, Luke. And that is the end of the first book. It's not a fight. It's not a climactic, confrontation. It is a reveal and a connection of all the plots before, and it makes sense in Luke's character. He's not going to try to fight this kid. He's probably statted him, so he'd rather not. And maybe not. Maybe Luke would beat him at that point in time because Luke is much more experienced. But why would Luke take that chance? It's really good. In the movie, Percy is going to return the Master Bolt himself to Zeus, which is something he does, but he does it in a different way. And Percy just starts fighting. Luke just attacks him out of nowhere, wearing also winged boots that Percy has, and then Percy uses the winged boots that Luke gave him, and they fight flying through the sky. And it's really lame. And
He started just zooming through the air.
Well, that and Luke does his whole reveal, telling him everything he did in the middle of the sky, right next to the Empire State Building. And so another important thing is Camp Half-Blood is covered by a shroud that most gods can't see into. It's like a protective barrier to keep both just influences out. There's a barrier. Luke does this confrontation in the woods with no one else around. Inside the barrier, so no one knows if Percy was to die, no one would actually know that Luke was the traitor, and that I think that was actually Luke's plan. I'm actually remembering more now. He stung him with something that was supposed to kill him, and Luke is walking away. If Percy had died, all that people would ever know is Percy and Luke walked off in the woods. Percy was dead. Luke was never found. Unfortunately, Percy lived for Luke, and that information got out. But that makes a lot more sense than... okay, we got to consider... Zeus is very fucking angry that someone stole his Master Bolt, and Mount Olympus is right next, on top of the Empire State Building. If Zeus just looks, down... and sees two demigods fighting over his Master Bolt, he's like, oh, fucking sick, yoink. Smite both. Get the fuck out of here. So fucking annoying. Alright, but yeah. This is a huge side tangent just because you showed the movie, and this is how much I fucking hate this stupid-ass movie.
Abilities as you would expect. Throughout the many books that he exists in, Percy demonstrates the ability to manipulate water in very destructive ways to overpower his opponent with extremely potent force. Tidal waves, limbs constructed from water, and even a self-contained hurricane are all things that Percy can do with his control over the substance if he so chooses. And if you happen to be fighting the demigod near a large body of water, his connection to it and his godly heritage only grows stronger, allowing him to pull even greater levels of power from the depths. Now, on top of the Poseidon-specific powers that are granted to him, Percy has a myriad of minor hacks or resistance feats that are going to prove extremely important for him in a prolonged battle against Jujutsu Kaisen characters as I have placed him in. Particularly, Percy's resistance to extreme temperatures as demonstrated by his ability to survive multiple bolts of lightning and lava directly making contact with the skin.
No.
Yes! We get movie feet!
You can't do movie feats.
Fuck yeah.
I'm so fucking
even references him as a book character, and we're taking the movie feeds.
Okay, so is
No,
this where
dude.
is this where we
This
talk
isn't
about?
a book character. This is a
Yeah.
fucking movie character.
Well, is this where we talk about my argument where I don't like using plot holes as feats? Percy's not going to survive a bolt of lightning. Not in the main series. Not in the books. That's made very clear. It's taken as a credible threat when Zeus threatens to smite Percy the next time he flies in the sky, because Percy has to use a plane to get back from where he was at the end of at the like halfway point of Lightning Thief to get all the way back to New York. He has to take a plane, and that was seen as very risky because Zeus could smite them and kill them, but he chooses not to. And then Zeus directly tells him, "If you ever fly in my domain again, I'll fucking kill you." Hey Dante, what's up, buddy?
Fuck yeah, bro.
Why are we taking? And then we just have to talk about the movies are so incredibly unfaithful to the original story that how could you take? I mean, unless I'm forgetting where he tanks fucking lightning bolts and magma in the main series, I could be. It's been a while since I've read the books. Let's see if he elaborates.
To manipulate poison as a byproduct of the water that can be found within it, his regenerative abilities when in contact with a body of water, his resistance to multiple...
Okay, poison manipulation is a bit generous. He can manipulate liquids. So if the poison happens to come in liquid form, he can manipulate it. Poison manipulation makes it sound like... Yeah.
You might as well add blood manipulation to that, man.
Well, I mean, yes.
That's what I'm saying. Like, just say he can manipulate liquids instead of going, well, he has poison manipulation and blood manipulation.
Well, but saying poison manipulation makes it sound like he's just immune to all types of poison when there could be poison that comes in the forms of clouds or like
dust.
Dust, yeah. So.
forms of high-level magic, and even his ability to resist the imbued effect of a specific blade called Backbiter, which is stated to be able to rip the soul from the body upon making a cut. All of these...
What? Hold on. We're gonna live Google this, folks.
We are fact-checking him live.
Yeah. I don't remember Backbiter being able to rend the soul. Yeah, tempered steel and ancestral bronze. That means he can wound or kill mortal demigods.
Oh, no, it does say it's a modified version of Kronos' Scythe.
Oh, hold on. I mean, I'm going to read it. It's capable of opening portals, but... Backbiter is broken down and reforged as the same. Oh, yeah, so it... Okay. So Backbiter used to be Kronos' Scythe, then it gets reforged into Kronos' Scythe again. Yeah, it doesn't say it can rend the soul. That might be a movie feat. Let's continue.
These abilities and more are just some of the minor hacks that Percy has demonstrated he is resistant.
But again, soul manipulation is fucking insane to say. Come on. There's no way we're saying that he's like resistant to Mahito. Because that's the implication you're giving when you're saying like resistant to soul rendering.
Well, yeah, you're making it. You're trying to equate it to what Yuji.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're trying to give him an out to Mahito, which is the obvious question, but
Resistant to, or is able to counter with. On top of all of this, when at the peak of his powers physically, Percy also has access to the Curse of Achilles, which gives him complete physical invulnerability.
Wait, hold on. Can we? Did the implication of that make it sound like he like earned that through physical labor? You know, when he says he's at the peak of his physical abilities, he has the Curse of Achilles. You know, it kind of makes it sound like he earned the Curse of Achilles instead of like going and getting the buff.
Yeah, I know. Like it's so weird to me to hear him call it the Curse of Achilles instead of the Stygian Blessing.
I mean, I think that's what they actually call it in the book. I just call it the Stygian Blessing, I think, because I think that's way fucking better. Actually, let's look it up. Doesn't look like it. Now let's see. Fuck. Yeah, it is called... Dude, I think the Stygian Blessing is a way fucking better name. Maybe I'm just goated in the sauce. But, yeah, it's weird to me that it's like... once more than Achilles can get it, you don't call it the Curse of Achilles anymore. But also, how's it a fucking curse? He's immortal to everything except for one point. He just got fucked because he didn't get to choose his anchor. Whatever. Doesn't matter.
Resistant to, or is able to counter with. On top of all of this, when at the peak of his powers physically, Percy also has access to the curse.
Yeah, see, you see how it makes it sound like he has access to it when he's at the peak of his powers physically? No.
Yeah. He's trying to make it sound like it's just something you get when you're at a certain level of power instead of getting it.
Yeah, which it's not. Percy had to go retrace Luke's steps to figure out why Luke was like invulnerable to damage, and he found out that's what he did. And then he did it. He went and got the buff. It'd kind of be like me saying, and none of you guys are going to get this, but we have a D&D campaign where we did Greek mythology. So it'd be like me saying, and when Chris is at his strongest, he can't be hurt by anywhere but that one point on his body. It's like, what? It has nothing to do with him being strong. He went and got the buff. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
So, very weird.
Curse of Achilles, which gives him complete physical invulnerability with the exception of one spot on his back that is extremely susceptible to harm. Percy has multiple other minor abilities that are granted to him through his heritage, but I'll address those more context-specific powers when I actually discuss how I think he interacts with the Jujutsu Kaisen universe as a whole. For the time being, I've adequately covered Percy's basic hacks, which leads us to the oh-so-important question. How...
I will say less than adequately. I have a few bones to pick with what you did, and you took some movie feats, I'm pretty sure.
Or at least one.
I do not remember a single time in the books that he gets struck by lightning. Maybe I'm just not remembering that, but I think that's a movie feat. We'll have to ask Rhiannon, because I watched the first movie, and I never did that to myself again. I didn't watch the second one. I didn't watch Sea of Monsters. Fuck that.
How strong is this guy really?
I'm not going to watch the show either, and this is going to sound like it's political, but it's not. Annabeth looking the way she looked is important. She is stated to look like Athena. Athena is described a certain way, down to her eye color. Annabeth doesn't have blue eyes. She doesn't have brown eyes. She has gray eyes. She has sleek gray, cloud gray, metal gray, steel gray. It's said so many fucking times in the books. She has gray eyes. She has blonde hair. She has pale skin. There's nothing racial about it. That's who Annabeth is. Just like Percy is a kid with brown hair and green eyes. It's just who he is.
And the same way Grover's a satyr.
Grover's a satyr, and Grover's skin color is never actually, or ethnicity is never really actually quite fully stated. So in the movies they make Grover black, no problem with that. I think that's perfectly fine. I think they can fit Grover. I think they play Grover a little bit too cool in the movies, in the first movie at least, because Grover's a bit of a nervous wreck who like eats metal when he's nervous. Where they kind of, I don't remember the actor exactly, but Grover's way too fucking cool in the movies. But him being black is fine. Annabeth looks a certain way, and it's important. It's nothing to do with race or politics. You can have a character that looks or does anything you want when you write it yourself. And apparently this is a thing that Rick Riordan has okayed, but this is something that I would either say feels thrust upon him because, he doesn't want to be the guy where show writers propose that Annabeth could be black and Rick Riordan shut them down. Like, he doesn't want that headline to come out. But, Rick Riordan has also embraced politics a lot more in his recent works, and maybe he actually really thinks that's a good move. And I just have to disagree with him wholeheartedly. I have a mental image of what Annabeth looks like because of how well you described her. And I'm not going to set that aside because you asked me to for the sake of someone else's feelings. That isn't what was described in the book. I'm so sorry. I think that woman who plays Annabeth is a wonderful actress, and I wish her luck in her career, but I don't think she should have been given this role. I think there's plenty of good roles she could have been given that didn't have to be just one that she wasn't castable for, in my opinion. Just like I don't think you should cast, Steve Buscemi as Django in a sequel for Django Unchained. I don't think it would work. That's all.
See, if you're like me and have been a big fan of the Percy Jackson books for a while, you may underestimate how strong this guy actually is when removed from his own universe. In the context of the overarching Riordan-verse, Percy's a pretty scary guy, giving the god of war Ares a tough time at the age of 12, holding the weight of the sky on his shoulders for a brief time at 13, going blow for blow with the Titan of Time at 15, and walking through hell squared, all without succumbing to the ancient powers that be. However, how this exactly translates to battles across fiction is a bit more tricky, and it required me to go digging in my old books to look for specific feats or statements regarding his physical.
I'm gonna give this guy a boon here. If this is true, and he actually did go looking through his old books, that is more research and more effort than most people give. They're just gonna go straight off memory, and I mean, that's what I'm doing. But I just saw this video and I was interested in it, and sue me, I can go off memory. But yeah, I absolutely will commend you for it. Go and read the original sources. Fact check your stuff. Now, I don't know if it's just me, but does it not sound like he came up with this hypothesis before he went and looked through the books, and so he went looking for books to support his argument? Like, listen to the way he phrases this.
Age of 12, holding the weight of the sky on his shoulders for a brief time at 13, going blow for blow with the Titan of Time at 15, and walking through hell squared, all without succumbing to the ancient powers that be. However, how this exactly translates to battles across fiction is a bit more tricky, and it required me to go digging in my old books to look for specific.
You see, how this compares to other universes is tricky, which required me to go digging my old books. So it's almost like he came up with how this is going to clash across fiction before he went and did the research, which doesn't have to be that he came up with this argument first. It could be that he was wondering, how would Percy Jackson do against the Jujutsu Kaisen verse? Let me go research it, and that would be the best faith interpretation. But I think the phrasing could lead to an alternate interpretation, and maybe we might want to reword that in the future. But I will still say very commendable that you went and you did the research.
Specific feats or statements
Did you have anything to say on that? I don't want to dominate here.
You'd be real fucking surprised with how many people we've watched off the logs that don't do the fucking research.
Well, I mean, don't do the basic redrafting. I mean, how many times have videos defeated themselves by us listening to the video?
Yeah, fucking how many videos have been fucking just slain because we decided to actually pay attention to what the fucking video person was actually fucking saying, like actually took time to understand what the words coming out of their mouth.
And that usually that happens when people aren't even scripting. They're just, I'm just gonna talk for 30 minutes and that'll be a video. Alright, so let's get back right into it.
Regarding his physical abilities, and to my surprise, I found quite a few that led me to the conclusion that he could step to JJK and instantly be granted top tier status.
Whew, so we're saying he's like a special grade, not even like special grade, like Gojo Sukuna special grade.
Yeah, he's not even a low end special grade either.
Whew. Okay. I mean, we've laid out what our viewpoints are. I don't know if we actually have. I would say that I think Percy gets walled by Mahito. I don't know how he deals with Mahito. Because remember, Stygian Blessing doesn't prevent contact. All Mahito needs is contact and he can transfigure your soul. I'm not sure how he's dealing with Big Ol' Cleve. Or Gojo. Or... you probably are not dealing with Kenjaku's Kenjaku and Suguru Geto's like big fuck off laser thing he can do. Yuta has a big fuck off laser thing he can do.
Who do you think is the weakest character that walls Percy Jackson?
That's a really good question. Nobara could put up a really, really big threat. If Nobara gets a strand of his hair and then resonances him, he's fucked. Like, he just dies.
See, I was thinking Mechamaru.
Yeah, but I don't consider Mechamaru weak. So, that could be where our disconnect is. But, yeah, Mechamaru builds a big fucking giant mech and lasers you, dude.
I can blast him.
And again, people are like, oh, how does a laser kill him? A laser would fully encompass his entire body, and it would hit the small of his back. He would die.
Do you think Inamaki could beat him?
How
do we think cursed speech affects him?
Percy would be considered a being with like a high amount of cursed energy because he's like a demigod of the big three if we're like translating the power systems. So Inamaki wouldn't be able to use shit like explode or die on him. Inumaki would ultimately have to get lucky. Like, he might be able to do shit like plummet or go away, and maybe Percy gets launched into something that hurts his back. But I don't see how Inumaki would actually be able to beat him. I think Nobara. I actually think Nobara is a really good counter to him. I mean, Nobara is so slept on. Resonance is just so fucking good. Higuruma, I mean, he's not considered weak, but, I mean, the problem is I don't know what Percy Jackson is really, like, what could be he guilty of that would be major. He'd probably just get hit with confiscation, which means he would lose Riptide.
Well, I mean, if we're translating it over, he would lose Riptide, then he would probably lose his ability to manipulate water.
No, that's not how confiscation works.
I thought he gets rid of all their cursed energy, right?
So, if you have cursed abilities, then it takes away your cursed ability. If you don't have cursed abilities, but you have cursed energy, it takes away your cursed energy. However, if you have cursed energy and cursed abilities and a cursed tool, it takes your cursed tool.
It takes oh, yeah, right, because that happened in the most recent chapter. Oh, yeah.
Which I personally think is pretty fucking lame, and Higuruma should have known about, but it is what it is. Alright, so.
For example, in the fourth book of the original series, Battle of the Labyrinth, Percy's essentially able to self-detonate and cause the eruption of a volcano single-handedly, Mount St. Helens to be specific. The amount of force required to do something like this is around 24 megatons of TNT, or
Bro, are we getting the death battle calcs right now?
I have no way to fact check this, because I assume he just Googled how much force would it take to erupt Mount St. Helens, but we're not taking into consideration that...
Google that right now. Google that right now and see if 24 megatons comes up. I want to know if he did one Google search. Because if we can call him out on this is one Google search.
Oh no. Helens released 24 megatons TNT of thermal energy.
Oh, so he did just do one Google search.
And also, he also equated it wrong, because it's not. He said the force required to detonate Mount St. Helens would take 24 megatons, but that's not true. It's Helens released 24 megatons of thermal energy when it erupted. It's not the same as and secondly, causing the detonation of something, of course, doesn't equal the amount of output force, but we have to consider Percy's ability is to manipulate water. So I could be wrong, but I would assume the way he detonated the volcano was by like using the thermal magma vents and closing them off until he increased the pressure. But yeah, this is just death battle scaling, but also one Google search and just a misinterpretation of what you Googled. I mean, this is all around wrong.
So a death battle calc.
Enough power to level a city with the force of the blast. Now, this level of output from Percy is impressive in its own right, but even when ignoring just how destructive he...
Well, that would be impressive if he did it.
Yeah.
Could be
that would be
here.
impressive.
There
if that
are
wasn't
three
a
extremely important things to note in this specific feat. The first is that Percy isn't...
That'd be a crazy feat if that wasn't done by a literal mountain. I mean, man, that's fucking crazy, dude.
Intensely is impressive in its own right, but even when ignoring just how destructive he could be here, there are 3 extremely important things to note in this specific feat. The first is that Percy isn't intentionally trying to cause this much destruction in this instance. We know this because he actively says so himself when it's revealed just how much damage and destruction he actually caused. In fact, it's even made clear that he didn't know he could do this. The lack of intent on Percy's part simply makes what he did that much more impressive. The second thing to note is that this feat directly correlates to his durability as a baseline, because he himself is the one who caused the explosion in the heart of the volcano.
Wow, so we are really just like all inning on this feat that is just super wrong. I thought he was going to move on, but wow, he's just really, I hope this isn't the crux.
No, and was subsequently launched from the blast as a result of it. By the very nature of this feat, Percy has to scale to his output here. And
oh, dude, no. Dude. Please don't let this be the baseline, because this is gonna, like, fuck the underpinning of all of your other arguments.
This is just getting to, like, the physical stats, which he's heavily winged. But if he's going to say, 24 megatons output is just going to kill most people, like, it's going to be really bad, yeah. But this is 5 minutes into his 25-minute video. He's going to have other points.
Please don't let this be the foundation you lay, man, please.
the third and final thing that is oh so impressive about Percy blowing up a volcano is the fact that this doesn't even come close to the limits of his capabilities. Not only is Percy just 14 in the Battle of the Labyrinth, but as the books progress and the danger that he faces grows more and more threatening, he continues to rise to the occasion and match them blow for blow. Take his brief encounter with the King of Giants, for example, where even while weakened, he's able to knock the giant down and show force that is relative to him numerous times during their battle. This is so impressive because not only has this giant been stated to be able to lift mountains, but other weaker giants that Percy had also faced have been stated to be able to lift mountains with such ease that stacking them on top of each other in order to reach Mount Olympus was seen as a dumb but not impossible plan for them. Now, this isn't to say that Percy has the ability to literally backpack a mountain in its entirety, rather that when in the context of combat and bursts of physical might, he's able to contend with significantly larger opponents with overwhelming physical power. This is a pretty consistent level.
Okay, yeah, that is true. He was able to fight him, and yeah, I was hoping he was going to cover that. It's like, no, he's not scaling to fucking being able to throw mountains around, but he can fight a being that can lift mountains because, he's a much smaller target and he can cause a much harder amount of force with a small surface area. He's almost like a bullet himself when fighting him. So, yeah, this is all fine. Percy's capable of outputting a lot of damage. That is true. Not 24 megatons, because that would be a Mount St. Helens feat, but a lot.
Level of scaling for top tier demigods as well, as we see other big three children like Nico and Jason perform feats on this level. Even if you think that Percy isn't far and away the most powerful demigod of the main cast, which many characters in
he is, though. I wouldn't even argue it's really close. You could say Jason, but I don't think so. Percy's a better fighter and has fought worse things. I don't know what to tell you. Percy 1v1 Kronos, yikes. He's easily the strongest. Nico is a top contender just because he's like a necromancer. He can raise like a fucking army instantly. Jason, very, very strong. Sure, son of Jupiter, not fucking around. Piper is actually low-key one of the strongest. She basically has like suggestion constantly, so she can just fuck with your head really easily. But Percy's like far and away the strongest. If we're not counting human form Apollo, because there's a book series where Apollo gets put into a human, and I haven't read all of it, but I'm wondering if maybe during some points Apollo like either gets his own power slowly so he becomes more worthy, or I don't know. But yeah, of course, from what I've read, which is Sadie Kane Chronicles and Percy Jackson series and Heroes of Olympus, he's far and away the strongest.
in the story say or imply that he is, he does have multiple encounters with them that demonstrate that he's at least relative, which is important especially when talking about Jason Grace, who is able to summon a storm of great magnitude with such speed that the feat is actually calculated to be island level in terms of the required power to do such a thing. If we're trying to scale Percy's destructive capacity and all-around attacking power in the most consistent and logical...
What? Can you explain that again? I did not catch that. What do you mean he can summon a sword at island level? What the fuck are you talking about?
Rewind?
Calc to be island level in terms of the required feats on this level. Even if you think that Percy isn't far and away the most powerful demigod of the main cast, which many characters in the story say or imply that he is, he does have multiple encounters with them that demonstrate that he's at least relative, which is important especially when talking about Jason Grace, who is able to summon a storm of great magnitude with such speed.
Summon a storm. Yeah, he said that, so I thought he said summon a sword. Summon a storm of great magnitude which has been scaled to be island level. When you say island level, you're saying that Jason can summon a storm so powerful it can destroy an island. Like, we're talking like Lelusia. No. No. I'd have to go back and rewatch it, but I don't think he's deleting islands with that storm. It is a pretty good storm. I don't even think that storm is equivalent... Wait. Also, I'm pretty sure that storm is like Percy boosted. Like, Percy is doing the water and he's doing the winds. So it creates like a super storm. So I'm pretty sure it's not even a Jason-only feat from what I'm starting to remember.
Also, minor One Piece spoiler.
Get fucked.
Actually calc to be island level in terms of the required power to do such a thing. If we're trying to scale Percy's...
Who is calculating it? Who's doing these calculations?
Yeah,
do you have
they. Dude, they.
Do you have Boomstick in the background? Is Boomstick doing your fucking
they know that it's island level. The community, dude.
The Percy Jackson power scaling, the hardcore Percy Jackson power scaling community has calced this 100 times over.
Dude, it's in the calculations. I don't know what to tell you.
So we looked at the data.
We looked into the code. It's there. I mean, it's right there. You can look at it.
Capacity and all-around attacking power in the most consistent and logically sound way possible, this is about where he would end up. The mountain to island level range is demonstrated.
I love seeing the big sticker right there that says now a major motion picture.
Oh, yeah. Instead of reading this book, I'll just watch the movie then. Oh.
I mean, I should be able to get the same experience, right?
Right?
Surely.
If we're trying to scale Percy's destructive capacity and all-around attacking power in the most consistent and logically sound way possible, this is about where he would end up. The mountain to island level...
More logical scaling. We looked at the data. Now, if you look at it logically and empirically and logically...
I like how he says that after doing one Google search about how much output force Mount St. Helens has and immediately equating that to his output force.
Yeah, but I don't think you get to tell me logically and empirically, definitively, what a fucking power calc is whenever you did one Google search and you got it wrong, bro.
Range is demonstrated extremely consistently through a myriad of feats and statements, all of which the protagonist of peak fiction the series scales to. However,
protagonist of peak fiction the series. Jesus Christ, relax.
Where he would end up. The mountain to island level range.
Yo, are you trash talking the Percy Jackson community right now? They have a tight-knit community. They have a Wikipedia page. Rick Riordan is right. He's in the chat logs with them right now. He's in the comments of this video.
Hey man, make your show better. Since you're here.
Range is demonstrated extremely consistently through a myriad of feats and statements, all of which the protagonist of peak fiction the series scales to. However, if you were to highball Percy and many of the other powerful demigods that he fights...
Oh, if you were to highball him, we haven't been highballing him yet.
We've been lowballing him.
We've been being
25
fair right now.
Yeah, we've been being more than fair. 25 megatons.
No, don't be overzealous. 24.
Oh, sorry, yeah, 24 megatons of damage output and durability.
You'd be able to argue that the true extent of his power lies more closely to large country level. This is due to Percy showing relativity to giants on numerous occasions throughout the story, and giants are considered the superior children of Gaia when compared to the Titans. Many of the most powerful Titans in the story have feats relative to or even greater than the Greek gods themselves, who at the highest levels can casually vaporize entire seas, demolish islands accidentally, or just casually set their divine weapons to nuke mode. Now, as impressive as this would be, I do say that it's a highball for Percy, just due to how consistently the gods of the Riordanverse are shown to be leagues above the demigod offspring that they have when it comes to pure power. Percy's shown that he can tangle with gods like Ares while they aren't using the full extent of their abilities, but when entering their divine forms, it's clear that even the strongest of half-bloods can't really compete. The potential scaling is there, especially when thinking back to the fact that Percy pinned Hades down in his own domain and made him run away, but it simply isn't as accordant with the rest of the book series as everything else to say that Percy can literally nuke or vaporize seas in an instant. Still, this gives us a decent range of power that he'll be wielding when going up against the Jujutsu Kaisen universe, and when paired with his extremely impressive speed, I think you'll see why I have such confidence in Percy when throwing him up against an entire world. For his speed scaling, it honestly requires much less explanation than his strength did. In the Titan's Curse, he was able to perceive and deflect a bullet, and does something similar against an army of underworld soldiers in The Last Olympian. Going one step beyond this later in the series, we see that on multiple occasions, either Percy or characters that he is shown to be a match for.
I mean, I feel like we should be pausing, but I mean, a lot of this is like, okay, well, I was gonna make fun of you for saying like I've been being fair, but you kind of immediately backtracked from your whole country level thing. Because yeah, I mean, Percy doesn't have anything in his arsenal. It's gonna get rid of a fucking country, and that is one of the problems in the Percy Jackson series. Is that, and the argument would be that the gods are at the center of the culture right now. That's why they are like the gods. They're almost omnipresent and capable of, you know, great feats, while the Titans and the Giants seem very nerfed to the point where demigods can fight them. In the Percy Jackson universe, things revolve a lot more around the cultural impact. That's why Mount Olympus sits above the Empire State Building, because it's like the center of Western culture, and Western culture is like the center of the global culture. So that could be the explanation of why they're shown so inconsistently, but yeah, it would be an extreme highball wink to say because he fought Porphyron that he could, you know, fucking nuke America by himself. Like, no.
I mean, we're just getting to the point right now where he's just listing off speed feats from the thing. I mean, not really a whole lot to say till he gets to like another major point. I mean,
Yeah.
I would like to arbitrarily pause it and just go on tangents, but I mean, I really got nothing to say at this point right now.
Yeah, I'm just being a little bit careful for copy rizzles.
Oh, that's true. We don't. He might get mad at us for calling out his
Copy strike?
Yeah, I will strike you down.
If you strike me down, I should become far more powerful than you ever could have imagined, Vader. Broken Ronin.
I have the high ground.
I have the high ground. Just starts quoting the only Star Wars memes you know, because you've only seen one Star Wars movie.
Oh God, no! We're just gonna air that dirty laundry out immediately. So
No, dude, it's okay. I'll make everybody angry at me. What's the first Star Wars movie I showed you? Did I show you the good one?
You showed me the one with Jar Jar Binks.
Yeah. We're doing it in chronological order because I've never known someone to watch Star Wars movies in chronological order. I think it'd be funny. That's why I did it. It's for me, not you.
And another comments we made of both of us.
Nice.
Are able to react to lightning bolts outright. This level of speed is...
Okay. Oh man, good to know that we were about to pause it immediately on the next sentence, huh? Okay, is this guy going to be the kind of person who says that reacting to lightning is light speed?
Yeah, because, hey man, did you know I can react to lightning?
Can you? are you light speed?
I mean, when I see lightning, I can see it. I can perceive it. And I react to it by not going over there.
Damn, I didn't know you were light speed, dude. You should have told me.
Yeah, bro. But I don't always go light speed because I don't have light speed durability, so I would just instantly die if I went light speed.
you move and then you'd be meat paste.
That'd be like my favorite kind of universe where you only get one superpower. You're like, oh, okay, I'll take super speed. And you're like, no, you don't understand. You only get one superpower. You get super speed. You don't get resistance to the inertia that super speed would give you. But then I don't have that power. Yeah.
Yeah, you do. Just be careful when you use it.
Just don't use it.
Or be really careful.
Yeah, and if you go faster than you're supposed to, it will hurt like a lot. Your body will be really bruised. It's like, okay, I'll take super strength. That's fine, bro. You don't have durability though, so like, don't let anything fall on you when you lift it.
Yeah, just don't drop anything.
I want flight for the love of God. Do not run into anything and don't go too high or you'll suffocate. And don't land too hard. And like, avoid air traffic control and like the military.
And if you hit a bird, you die.
You die. 100% you die. But there's like, but the sky is filled with birds. It's where I fly, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Be careful.
Pat him on the shoulder. All right, I'm going to get really fucking mad if I hear him say that dodging lightning makes you light speed. I already hate Naruto power scalers for that exact feat.
Trevor, he just said that he's going to start talking about speed feats, so prepare to be annoyed.
I know. It's like every time I hear someone go, "Dude, dodge the Chidori. He's faster than light." It's like,
here we go.
No.
It's not how it works. No.
It's not true.
It's not true.
Isn't an outlier either, and actually happens rather frequently in the story. Jason reacts to lightning, giants that Percy fights are able to react to lightning, and even he has deflected a bolt of the stuff off his blade when fighting the son of Jupiter himself. On its own, this would already mean that Percy outscales 99% of the Jujutsu Kaisen universe, but after researching...
Whoa. No.
God damn it. Okay, didn't Mahito dodge a laser from Mechamaru?
Well, I mean, he's obviously going to instantly compare this to Kashimo and how Kashimo is untouchable. I'm not going to equate a Jason, who's a demigod, level lightning bolt. Like, this is a problem. And I know this is going to sound weird, but not all lightning bolts are the same. That's why we call Zeus's the Master Bolt. That's why he wasn't as strong when his Master Bolt was stolen. He could still hit you with attacks and maybe even a lightning bolt, but it wouldn't be a Master Bolt.
That's a good point. Yeah, is the tangible difference, or is the main difference between the Master Bolt and Jason's lightning bolt the damage output or the damage and speed output?
Well, I mean, it's both. It's obviously just like a tidal wave or a hurricane from Poseidon would be way, 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 way stronger than anything Percy can put out. That would be the comparison between Jason's lightning bolt and Zeus's. We are not comparing these. Like, they're not even in the same universe. I would not compare. I would say that Kashimo's lightning bolt is like just under Master Bolt level. Like, at its highest potency would be just under Master Bolt level. And I don't think Jason's getting anywhere near that. And that's what he's going to say, is that Kashimo's above 99% of the cast, and he controls lightning. And then what that would just say is that, Jason Grace is also top tier, because he can control lightning, and that makes him Kashimo?
For any feats that I may have missed, I discovered that in the last Olympian, Percy literally reacts to the light of Hyperion from a short distance, placing him at least relativistic speeds. So, in case all of that just
No, he's about to spell it out, Trevor. Don't worry. He's about to say unless that went all over your head. Watch, you'll see.
On like a bunch of mumbo jumbo to you, you can essentially look at Percy as a physical monster. Now we'll talk.
Oh. Okay.
Oh, dude, if the random words that I just said there don't make sense, dude, don't worry. This guy is big. He's bigly strong.
Now, listen, you might have heard everything I said and decided that didn't make sense. And that isn't because I didn't write it well. He's just strong. Don't worry about it.
Percy Jackson. He's stand proud, Percy.
Stand proud, Percy. You are strong.
About how his fighting style, experience, hack, strength, speed, and durability all play a part in more detail once I get to breaking down how this matchup shakes out. But before we do that, let's quickly go over Jujutsu Kaisen and its scaling. If you've been here before and seen my cross-verse power scaling content, I'm sure you've heard me go on this spiel in the past. But for all those unfamiliar with the series and its scaling, or those who just need a refresher, let's go over how strong the Jujutsu Kaisen verse is as succinctly as possible. The important thing to note with this story is that there are about 3 tiers that you can scale the entire verse to, and they escalate both in impressiveness and leaps in logic. Tier 1 is the most reserved and downplayed when it comes to stats. At this stage, we're relying purely on destructive feats and calcs that result from it, as well as statements from the narrator or author himself, and when we do so, the Jujutsu Kaisen universe caps out around city level and vaguely faster than Mach 1. The AP scaling relies
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Rather heavily on massive feats of destruction like Sukuna's Fire Arrow, Jogo's Maximum Meteor, and Gojo's Unlimited Hollow Purple to give us the level at which these characters are operating at. The speed comes from Naoya's Mach 3 statement, and top tier characters in the series most likely being above this. It is difficult to determine and pin down to what extent they surpass.
Well, yeah, because Gojo fucking teleports, so. Yeah, Mach 3 would be like the fastest you could physically move in this verse. Naoya or Naobito would be faster because frame hacks and Gojo teleports. So, anyway.
Past this level of speed, simply because at this point we haven't gotten a direct comparison or updated.
And I guess Toto, if you want to count like switching instantly. Or, I guess you can't switch instantly, it takes the speed of him clapping his hands.
Also, the travel time of the object.
Well, he would instantly swap places with whichever object. So if he's like if he's trying to blitz you, then he would switch with something right next to you. You know, assuming it had curse synergy. Like, imagine he's fighting Percy and he switches with Riptide.
Oh yeah, he'd be on his ass immediately, huh?
Yeah.
Statement. Now, I view this verse here as the safest option when scaling the series, simply because it relies on the least assumptions and most fundamental things shown to us in the story. But with that being said, I also think that it's a low ball for what the verse in actuality scales to, and that is where the next level comes in. Tier 2 is the level directly above this, and it's what I consider to be the most middling way to scale Jujutsu Kaisen. While it does rely on a few more assumptions and generosities to come to this conclusion, they aren't so wild or unfounded in their premise that I deem it unfit to use matchups like this, and when following this line of thinking, the upper echelons are able to reach island levels of attack potency and be significantly faster than the speed of sound. For the attack potency scaling, that relies entirely on domain expansions and how they are explained within the story. Put simply, the inside of a domain is constructed through a character's cursed energy and curse technique, and while the outside of the domain and inside are incongruent, the actual environment crafted within the barrier actually exists. Now, in saying all of that, I realize that I didn't put that simply at all, so I'll say it like this. Because Drogo and Dagon are able to create a mountain and island within their domain expansions respectively, their cursed energy output and composition should scale to these things, placing every character that's stronger.
Probably not, no. Okay, so here's the problem with having that viewpoint. Gojo constructs all the knowledge of the universe in his domain expansion. Gojo cannot scale to the infinite power of the universe. These places do actually exist, but these are like an actualization of the person's view on the world or view on their own technique, or maybe even the shape of their soul, according to Mahito. Yes, these things do physically exist inside the barrier, but it is still almost an illusion. It's weird. It's an illusory but real technique. You are in a hot coffin mount, like, coffin of the Iron Mountain. You're inside a volcano. You are inside a volcano. That volcano exists inside this space, but. And I would be comfortable saying that Jogo is volcano level and above. I'm fine with saying that, but your phrasing like that is weird. And no, I wouldn't say Dagon is mountain level because he can make a mountain in his domain. Dagon seemed to be really special in how his domain worked. While he was a cursed womb or like a not fully hatched special grade, he was able to use his domain and keep it up for a very, very long time. Dagon seems to be unusual in how his domain works, and I don't think we can say he's mountain level because he kind of just gets like straight up bodied by Toji, who we're almost certainly not going to say is mountain level, right? Like, Toji's not going to be...
Sukuna shrine level.
Than them even higher on the totem pole. For the speed scaling, you need only rely on calculations based on known speed quantities to get the verse a couple of dozen times faster than sound. Maki catching a bullet, Yuji blocking piercing blood from close range, Kenjaku dodging it at the last second, and Sukuna essentially blitzing the attack, all essentially demonstrate that these JJK characters can reach hypersonic to hypersonic plus levels of speed if they need to.
Hasn't Gege literally come out and said that Maki dodging the bullet was something that he shouldn't have put in there because it fucks the scaling really weird?
Yeah, that is something he regrets having Maki catch the bullet because it makes her way too strong and way too fast. I like Maki being the one thing that we could use as a saving grace is that Mai was not using like actual bullets. She was using cursed energy in the shape of bullets, and they don't, because her technique wasn't refined or perfected, they didn't actually move at the speed of, like, that would be my way of correcting it if I was Gege. If Mai wasn't already dead, it would be that Mai's technique was never fully realized, and so they weren't actually bullet level bullets. They were her closest approximation of a bullet. And so that it wasn't quite as fast or quite as strong, and that's why Maki was able to catch it. Still makes her really fast, but yeah, I mean, as it stands right now, it is just a plot hole. And this one is actually a lot easier to argue because Gege himself has said that he regrets it. This is when I come with a classic argument of plot holes are not to be used for scaling. So if it's something that we look at in the story and we go, well, obviously that shouldn't work, like that's obviously wrong, we don't then go, but it happened, and so we now scale that. Like, a good example is in the MCU, there's a moment where Black Widow falls like down a building and like bounces off 6 different things, then smacks the ground, and she's fine. Doesn't even like have to go to the hospital. She's fine. We are not going to say that she is we sent a crash test dummy on the same fall that Black Widow did in this movie, and it withstood this amount of force. Now that has to scale to this durability. It'd be like, no, she should have died. And you know how I know? Because she dies from high falls in Infinity War. Or not Infinity War, Endgame. So I know that falls kill her, just apparently not in the Black Widow movie. That would be what we call a plot hole. We're not going to use that for scaling. Otherwise, she would be strong enough to fight Thanos by herself. So these are the kind of things we use. Maki catching a bullet is, I mean, it's a lot easier for us to argue because Gege himself has come out and said probably shouldn't have done that. That'd be what we call a plot hole. Piercing blood is a really fast technique, and Yuji being able to react, I'm perfectly fine with. And Yuji didn't react like to the shot instantly being fired.
I mean, the whole piercing blood thing almost falls back to the argument that I say whenever it comes to like a lot of feats where a character's like they dodge lightning or they dodge whatever laser beam. It's like Chozo had to put his hands together, aim at Yuji, and then fire it.
Well, yeah, I mean, one of the main reasons Yuji couldn't react and dodge is because he jumped down the escalator, and so he was mid-air. So what a lot of people might overlook about that scene is they slow time down there. When Yuji's jumping down the escalator, he slowly sees a person, and he can't quite see who they are, then lands down, and he's looking at him as he's jumping down. He's like, I don't know this guy, he looks kind of weird. But then he instantly sees this guy, who from his perspective sees legs coming down, getting his attention, then he sees Yuji. Instantly he forms into a scowl, claps his hand together, and starts doing this weird technique. Yuji's able to see that and instantly throws his hands up because he's mid-air and falling. So Yuji is not reacting to blood manipulation being shot at him in that instant. He's reacting to seeing someone look like they're about to kill him and shoot something at him. This isn't hard scaling to do. We just gotta watch the scene.
This is all well and good, but there's one level higher that we can go. The final tier of scaling that even remotely makes sense for where the series is at right now. Tier 3 is this level, and while I would consider most of the speed and strength scaling presented here inconsistent, or at least an extreme highball, the arguments do exist, so I'll lay them out for you to parse. At the tippity top of Tier 3, Gojo, Sukuna, and Yuki all stand, and they would all through some round.
Whoa. Hey, how recent is this video? 1 day ago? No, we're not going to put Yuki Tsukumo in the same category. So sorry, she lost to Kenjaku. I mean, unless you're going to put Kenjaku up here, then no, she's not. I like Yuki. But Yuki lost to Kenjaku. I don't think Gojo loses to Kenjaku. I don't think Sukuna loses to Kenjaku. And that's just because of how Gege would write the story. Honestly, Kenjaku should be the most powerful being in the verse. It is fucking insane to me that he is apparently just full dead, and the only thing he did in his last moment was have Tengen add the Kogane role. This is in the most recent leaks, by the way. I don't know if you've seen them. Now, what that could mean is that Kenjaku is now just in Tengen, and so because we didn't see Tengen himself add the role, just Kogane came up announcing the new role. Could be that was his last thing as Kenjaku. I hopefully prefer to think that he just took over Tengen's body whenever he died. Which would be a good nerf for him, because then he would have all of Tengen's powers and whatnot, but with no longer being in any, body swap, like he didn't actually body swap, then, his brain is what held all the techniques. So maybe he doesn't have 17 different domain expansions, which is what I worried about.
Now, he has to start back from square one.
Yeah. Now, it's never been confirmed if he has... We know he has at least 2 domain expansions, I'm pretty sure. But, yeah, that's one of the biggest problems with Kenjaku. And, yeah, you had to, jump him the way you did and use, reality bender powers to, jump him. Because... Yeah, how do you actually deal with Kenjaku in an honest way? And I say honest in terms of, straight up 1v1ing him, because he's just going to have, so many different fucking abilities. But, yeah, really weird to put Yuki in this top 3, as if Yuki and Gojo are comparable, or Yuki and Sukuna are comparable. It's just weird.
I was about to say, again, putting Yuki up here and not putting Higuruma, Hikari, Yuta...
Yeah, I thought it was going to be a Higuruma up here, which is literally, by Sukuna been declared to be Gojo level, or I would accept Hikari. I would even accept people if you made this board bigger, if it was Gojo, Sukuna, Urame, Yuta, Higuruma, Yuki, then I'd be like, okay, yeah, he's naming the special grades. Kenjaku, Surugeto, yeah, okay.
Roundabout means have planetary destructive attack potency in one way or another.
Whew. So he's arguing that Yuki has planetary destruction because she manipulates gravity, and I guess I think that's something she says in the manga, where she has to keep constant check on her ability, otherwise it could cause massive destruction. I guess Gojo, he would have that same argument that by manipulating gravity he could fuck up Earth, and then are we just saying Sukuna fucking malevolent shrines the whole world? I mean, I wouldn't fucking doubt that Gege would do some shit like that.
And I'm waiting on him to say that Sukuna is universal because he can use strong cleave.
Well, I think he's just calling Sukuna planetary, but yeah, I mean, if he's cutting reality, you would have to put him higher than planet level. But
This conclusion comes from a few separate statements or showings in the manga, but primarily Yuki's black hole feat, the volume covers for the series stating that Sukuna's full power could destroy the world, and Sukuna's ability to, quote, cut the world.
Guys, read the fucking thing. God, this pisses me
Statements
off.
or showings in the manga, but primarily Yuki's
Wait,
black.
dude.
So,
Are you about to
Yuki's-
hit? Are you about to hit a bingo, one of the bingo sheets where he disproves his point by putting the thing on the video?
Yeah. So, the black hole technique, perhaps, but there's got to be a limit to it because she doesn't increase her own durability with her technique, so that would be the limit.
Black hole feat, the volume.
Now, why do you flash this up so fast? Well, let's read it. In a world where cursed spirits, this thing is in the way. Hold on. Oh my God, you're so annoying. Get out of the way, YouTube. In a world where cursed spirits feed on unsuspecting humans, fragments of the legendary and feared demon Ryomen Sukuna have been lost and scattered about. Should any demon consume Sukuna's body parts, the power they gain could destroy the world as we know it. Hey, Trevor. When I say this could destroy the world as we know it, does that mean literally planetary level destroying the world?
As we know it, of course.
Well, like a stock market crash could destroy the world as we know it.
I mean, if someone releases GTA 6, it will destroy the world as we know it.
But yeah, like the internet destroyed or changed the world as we know it. Like, man, ugh.
Volume covers for the series stating that Sukuna's full power could destroy the world, and Sukuna's.
Look, it's not even what the thing says. It doesn't even say Sukuna's full power can destroy the world.
Read
Any
what it
demon
says.
consume.
Read what the fucking page says.
ability to, quote, cut the world itself or all the pieces of information.
Yeah, when he says the world, he's not talking about the literal fucking planet. When you say planetary, he's saying the world is in reality itself. Hey man, like, you're fucking... Black Mass, I can kind of somewhat understand, but again, my argument would be the upper limit would be her durability limit. And the other two are just, like, wrong.
Bro, like, man, when I said the Jujutsu Kaisen fans can't read, it was a joke, bro. I was joking.
Stop proving me right.
Please.
Roll it back a little bit. God damn it.
Yuki's black hole feat, the volume covers for the series stating that Sukuna's full power could destroy the world, and Sukuna's ability to, quote, cut the world itself are all the pieces of information that lead me to this conclusion. The latter two abilities and statements would apply exclusively to Sukuna due to him being the strongest in the series right now, which means that we have to focus on Yuki here to get any other character to this planetary level of scaling. It's undeniable that as a special grade sorcerer, she was able to produce an ability that threatened to destroy the world, but the important context is that it required Yuki sacrificing her own life to achieve this level of destructive ability.
Cool.
Much like Mei and her crows, Yuki likely was able to dramatically increase her own cursed energy output through sacrificing her life. Now this does mean that comparable or superior sorcerers like Gojo, Yuta, and Kenjaku might be able to accomplish a similar feat under similar...
Hey, yeah, so that's actually pretty cool to mention. Yeah, he kind of words it weird, or maybe he just has a different take on it, but yeah, you can increase the output of your technique by dying or by sacrificing yourself, but also by being willing to kill yourself, you could increase the upper limit of your mass technique, and then create a black hole powerful enough to destroy the world. If you're willing to die and destroy the world, which Yuki, of course, would never do.
circumstances so long as they are willing to die to do so. Speed-wise, at this tier, you can argue that a large part of the cast are lightning timers, with Sukuna and Gojo alone having light speed physical scaling.
Yeah, I mean, there it was. He did say this was going to be like the high tier, and he kind of couched it with this is inconsistent, but the arguments are there. Gojo, I would certainly say, is lightning level, absolutely. Gojo's 6 eyes allows him to perceive slower and like like he's able to perceive faster than the average human being, and he can teleport. Sukuna being able to keep up with Gojo's speed probably means he's around the same level. Nabito might be lightning level, depending on how you slice it with the frames. That should be Kashimo, right? Should be about it.
Kashimo has to be.
When fighting against Kashimo, Hikari is shown to be capable of reacting to lightning, and
I'll give Hikari being light speed when he's in jackpot mode.
Yeah, I was about to say, didn't he dodge this whenever he was dodging the in-between from that to the lightning rod?
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Dodging one lightning bolt and reacting to it, I wouldn't give him lightning speed, but the fact he is consistently dodging attacks over and over against Kashimo while in jackpot. Now, part of that is maybe he's just reacting purely on instinct while in jackpot mode, but I will give it to Hikari. When he's in jackpot, he's probably light speed level. Yeah, 100%.
even dodging it throughout their battle. Now, I've seen a lot of contention regarding this feat due to a multitude of reasons, primarily because of how ambiguous the instance of Hikari's avoidance really is, plus the contradiction of the Naoya statement later on in the story. In the context of Hikari's avoidance of lightning right here, it's certainly possible and even feasible to argue that he isn't actually dodging it. However, later on in the fight, he is capable of ejecting the cursed energy that comprises the attack before it blows up his brain, demonstrating more concretely the possibility for JJK characters to perceive and actually deal with lightning level attacks once you get to a certain level. To address the whole Naoya Mach 3 contradiction, I mean, Gege kinda just did a weird thing in regards to this statement, because we have a myriad of other feats or statements alike that would place both human Naoya and current Maki multiple times above that level of speed. So it's clear that there is some dissonance between what's shown and what's said about these characters' speed level. For the light speed scaling exclusive to the strongest, that comes from Sukuna, quote-unquote.
I mean, that's just getting to the fact that Naobito himself is not written well. Unfortunately, Gege wrote him to be way too fast and then had him consistently get speed blitzed by Jogo, who is then outpaced in terms of power and speed by Maki and Naoya. So, I mean, yeah, Naoya becomes a cursed spirit that is stronger than Jogo or any of the disaster spirits, which I think is really interesting. But I think that's honestly probably just because we were at the point in the story where, we were dealing with people that were supposed to be stronger than disaster spirits, so...
Dodging Kashimo's attacks, which are constituted of electromagnetic waves. Gojo was shown to be at least relative to the version of Sukuna who did this speed-wise, so he should scale as well. Now, the reason this interpretation of JJK characters, even exclusively the strongest, is a bit iffy is because we don't know whether or not Sukuna is dodging Kashimo's aim in this moment or actually avoiding the attack after it's already been launched. Regardless, as I already made clear, this level of scaling is meant to be more of a highballed or exaggerated point of contention for them, so we'll leave it as it is. And with that, we have the 3 core tiers of Jujutsu Kaisen physical scaling. Typically, I take this time to get into the hacks and abilities of the entire Jujutsu Kaisen universe, but I'll address them as I find them necessary, allowing us to jump directly into how I think this battle shakes out. Now, when it comes to Percy matching up against the Jujutsu Kaisen universe, a few things make themselves pretty evident. The first is that the Son of Poseidon at nearly every level of scaling outclasses the vast majority of JJK characters. Percy, unlike most of the people that he's facing today, has reacted to, blocked, or outright dodged lightning on numerous occasions without any room for ambiguity or contradiction, making it the lowest that you can place his character in the speed department. Conversely, a large majority of the verse views attacks like Piercing Blood as particularly fast, despite it only achieving a velocity that is vaguely above Mach 1. Naoya with Projection Sorcery needs to spam his technique to hit subsonic levels of speed, and even when significantly amped through becoming a curse, hitting Mach 3 is viewed as impressive, at least when talking about most of JJK. Hikari has his lightning avoidance feats for sure, but even those don't compare as well to Percy literally deflecting bolts of lightning off his sword or facing off against characters who can do so on a pretty regular basis. Highballing his speed a bit and comparing it to the JJK highball shows us that even then, Percy still outscales everyone in the series barring Gojo and Sukuna respectively, as his reaction to light vastly supersedes any massively hypersonic scaling you can apply to everyone not named Gojo Satoru or Ryomen Sukuna. In simple terms, this means that in a one-on-one confrontation, Percy is avoiding almost every single attack that these characters throw at him, and even when being jumped,
Okay, so here's the issue with that, and this is just one of the issues with lightning. Yeah, you can't consider all lightning bolts to be the speed of light. Unfortunately, most of the events you're seeing where he's dodging or he's deflecting it are not from the highest level tier of lightning. You're like, well, lightning is lightning. Unfortunately, we can't consider it like that. We almost have to consider it just like a damage type, like it's lightning damage or it's frost damage. The problem with doing this is that time, like in one of the scenes where Percy deals with a bullet, time seemed to slow down. His reflexes kick in. It's considered an impressive feat, and I'm sorry, but it wouldn't stick out to Percy to describe this as an impressive thing whenever he's already dealing with lightning bolts. It's just one of those things that we have to accept that this is kind of a tangential thing, but dodging a lightsaber or dodging a laser beam in Star Wars does not make you light speed level. If the fact that you can see the blaster bolts or the blaster lasers means that they are slower than bullets. That's what that means. Because you can't see a bullet as it's traveling through the air. You can see that laser travel as it's being fired through the air. So it has to be slower than a bullet. But it's a laser, so we just think, well, it's a light, it moves like light speed. It's one of those things. We see a lightning bolt, and we're like, oh, it has to be moving at the speed of light. And it's like, no, not necessarily.
I don't necessarily fully agree with that, because you can put tracer rounds on a bullet, and you can see the bullet move. It's just because it's lit up.
Yeah, but I don't think you're seeing it at the same extent as... we'll have to watch more Star Wars, but there are instances where characters fire a blaster bolt and a character is able to raise their hand and stop it midair, and you can see it's not like a tracer shot. It is that whole... So when you're saying you fire a tracer round, that tracer round is allowing you to see a little bit of the light as it's passing, like, because the bullet is obviously just one little piece of fragmented metal, but it's going to leave a little bit of a light streak behind it to where you can see it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. When you stop the laser, like when Darth Vader stops the laser that's being shot at him, you can see the laser. It's the whole thing. Like, none of it... When he stops it and stops its momentum, it doesn't show that it's actually a really small bead of light that is just moving so fast that it looks like a little streak.
Oh, it's just a big chunk of, like, beam energy?
Yeah.
So, okay.
Yeah. So it's not like you're seeing a tracer of the laser. You are seeing the laser travel as it's being fired, which means it has to be slower than a bullet.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Sukuna's recent performance has made it clear that overwhelming speed and potency will allow for a total decimation of high-tier opponents simultaneously. This gets worse when you realize that Percy can clash with characters who view stacking mountains as a feasible strategy to get to Mount Olympus, and Jason, who's able to spawn a storm capable of trapping Gaia in an instant. These two demigods have been compared on numerous occasions, and so have their storms, which puts Percy's attack potency into perspective quite a bit. If you use consistent JJK scaling, this means high tiers within the story are able to compete via their hacks and curse techniques, but physically speaking, even Sukuna and Gojo haven't shown anything to imply that their basic punches and kicks should have the same bite as Percy's slashes and miniature hurricanes. Pair this ridiculous strength with his overwhelming speed, and every character who doesn't have a particularly difficult curse technique to parse gets dealt with rather quickly. In the event that you really want to lean into the more wacky and inconsistent forms of scaling for Percy and his opponents, his large country levels of strength and durability mean that there are less than a handful of characters that could survive a single clash with him, much less actually do damage to the demigod. I already established that Yuki, Gojo, and potentially other special grade sorcerers could surpass his durability if they were willing to sacrifice themselves on the planet along with them, leaving Sukuna as the only character who you can even argue has the capacity to damage.
That's insane to say. Why would you assume that they would need to sacrifice themselves in the world along with him to kill Percy? Percy can die to a stab wound to the spot in his back. Why are we doing this? This is so weird. Like, I don't even know where to go with this. This is such a high level of wank. Like, he's lost himself inside the fucking highballing. you did one Google search for Mount St. Helens and you have fucking ran with this. I don't. Yeah, this is like kind of difficult to get through because we're finding the whole crux of his argument is on really, really strange and hard powers. Like this feels like one of those things where this person is grasping at trying to make an argument, but they present it as like really, really solid and like good shit. Like the arguments sound like they're grasping at straws, but the confidence in delivery makes it way more convincing to the more casual listener. I'm really interested to see what most of the comments are saying.
You see that? Let's save the comments for the end.
Okay.
So the part about that too is like the problem is like a lot of people that would watch a video like this, they're not gonna double check that math the math on that because it does because they're used to seeing like death battle or whatever at 24 megatons. Yeah, sure, whatever. Like who cares? They're not gonna double check that and see that he's misreferencing the sources he's even referencing, right? And the problem is like they're not gonna check that, and then they get to this part of the video now where we're already past that. So now that we're getting to the main crux of his argument, which is based on that, they don't have that foundation of seeing that he's built this entire argument on a very flimsy wooden stand.
Yeah. And it just makes the second half of this video really frustrating to get into because like do you remember all the really interesting matchup discussions we had where like Percy probably scales to like this amount and how is he going to deal with Mahito? He's going to make physical contact and just like get rid of his soul. Like are we talking about Stygian blessing or not? Because he gets more feats as the series goes on, but he loses that durability. And I feel like all this has been tossed out the window for one really, really. I wouldn't even say also misquoted, but I think if you had Rick Riordan in the room and you were like, so when he caused that explosion at Mount St. Helens, that means like Percy's as strong and as durable as like the force that is expelled when Mount St. Helens erupts, right? And he'd be like, what? No, he's 14. No.
I mean, like, the direction you could have gone with this video to make it so much more interesting, which we're not done with it yet, so maybe he'll turn it around, but I think it would have been a lot more interesting to focus less on like the stat number check. Like I feel like you would just make so much more of an entertaining video if you went through the matchups and how he potentially counters each of their particular techniques, rather than trying to feel like I'm watching a Seth the Programmer video where like I'm getting raw power scaling and getting shown the stats of a character and we're gonna just compare the math.
Well, yeah, and it also feels like one of the main reasons he's doing that is to cut out a lot of the work. Like, remember, if he just wanks the shit out of Percy to where immediately we can cut out 99% of the cast, well, then he doesn't have to talk about certain matchups. But what about the matchups that, he does outstat, quote unquote, according to even your rankings, but their abilities can beat them? Like Nobara, like Mahito. We have interesting discussions here, but you want to skate past that real quick so you can just talk about how he would possibly deal with Infinite Void or Sukuna. And again, fucking insane to me that you think Sukuna would need to destroy himself or destroy the world in order to beat Percy when he could just fucking cleave his one part of his back. So insane.
Also, like, probably not even going to talk about how is Percy even going to deal damage to Mahito
or Gojo. Because Percy can't target the soul and he can't bypass infinity. How is Percy, we could even talk about the matchup between Percy and Toji having the Heavenly Spear that maybe can bypass the Stygian Blessing. What kind of matchup that would be. But, God. Not only because I didn't comment on it before because I don't want to get to, personal things, but his voice is very monotone and, uninteresting. And this video content is, not only so dry, but you're it's the attempt is so obvious that I think I'm starting to put my schizo hat on here. I think that he knew this was going to be very controversial,
very divisive,
and was hoping for rage clicks.
Percy in a normal, non-suicidal encounter. Taking these facts into consideration leads to a rather basic conclusion. If you aren't considered godlike in the verse due to your technique or physical abilities, Percy will be slicing through you like butter. Even if the Jujutsu Kaisen skill gets activated and they all attempt to dogpile him, I'm still betting quite a bit of money on Percy prevailing. This stance is even more substantiated when you consider that Percy has a lot of familiarity dealing with armies of opponents who aren't as strong, fast, or skilled as him in combat. Anybody below the level of special grade is getting blitzed and cut through with Riptide, and it's honestly not even a particularly close fight.
Whew. Okay, anyone below special grade. Alright, so Toji then? Because Toji's not considered special grade.
Yes, but yeah, okay, and then we've already mentioned before, but yeah, how are we gonna count the inverted spear of heaven working?
Yeah. Nobra, I mean, not even any discussion about maybe Nobra trying to play smart and, you know, get just a little piece of his hair or piece of, you know, like, I mean, we're not even going to maybe consider the idea that Gojo could see where his weak point is, relay that to mine, and my fucking snipe him from a distance. I don't know, this is just a boring way to talk about it, but okay.
Domain expansions from lower level characters could be a problem if they weren't getting blitzed into oblivion, and this means that only the...
Okay, so what, we're just assuming that they meet and then Percy just instantly is fucking running them with 100% intent to kill, and they don't even have time to throw up a domain expansion?
Alright, so Percy's bloodlusted, but the JJK characters aren't bloodlusted?
And also, he knows everything. Like, also, this is just like to disregard Percy's whole fighting style. Percy's not just gonna run straight at you and instantly go for the kill. First of all, he's more than often willing to talk it out. But yeah, if we're gonna bloodlust both characters and give each other knowledge of techniques, like, because that would be the only way that I would be able to justify Percy just running in headlong, because he's too smart. He's not just gonna sprint at an unknown enemy where he doesn't know any of their abilities, techniques, or, like, you know, capabilities, and just hope that he fucking speed diffs him. Like, he doesn't have the meta knowledge that we do. So he would look at Jogo and go, what the fuck does that guy do? And again, are we even going to talk about the fact that, because remember he said his resistance to extreme temperatures, so I guess that's his way of covering Jogo just incinerating him. But yeah, like, yeah, anyone with a domain expansion should beat him, because they can throw up a domain expansion and then sure hit him.
I mean, honestly, how do we feel about the battle? How do we feel about Hanami?
I'm still gonna lean toward Percy should be able to beat Hanami pretty handily. I don't think that one's gonna be particularly hard. I think if Yuji and Toto are able to jump Hanami to the point where Hanami's getting absolutely fucking worked and Yuji just figured out how to use cursed energy properly, because before then he was just spamming Divergent Fist. Yeah, I'm more than willing to say that he's stronger than Hanami.
I'm just thinking like the water-based attacks versus Hanami.
I mean, he doesn't have to use water though. Like, it's not like that's his only skill. If that was his only method of fighting people, then maybe. But I mean, he could just slice Hanami up, right?
Yeah, that's fair.
Cream of the crop physically, or those who have techniques that Percy wouldn't be able to get through with ease, are getting handled. Disaster class cursed spirits like Hanami, Dagon, and Jogo wouldn't be able to finish Percy off, even if they did land their domain expansions either.
Whoa, did you mention Mahito or?
Those who have techniques that Percy wouldn't be able to get through with ease are getting handled. Disaster class cursed spirits like Hanami, Dagon, and Jogo wouldn't be able to finish Percy off, even if they did land their domain expansions either. We've already seen a young...
Absolutely insane to fucking say.
I think that is a crazy fucking
That's a crazy statement to say. It's a sure hit technique. Percy has absolutely no response to domain expansion, Coffin of the Iron Mountain, Maximum Meteor. Get absolutely fucked.
I mean, like, even when Jogo was fighting Gojo overpowered him
with his own domain
to stop the sure hit.
Yeah.
Younger, weaker, less experienced Percy caused the eruption of a volcano and survived being at its epicenter. So Jogo's Coffin of the Iron Mountain.
God fucking damn it.
I know, dude. It's the crux of every argument he makes.
I
But also,
wish-
your durability
wish-
doesn't matter when you're in a domain expansion, dumbass.
Sure hit. I wish I could see Percy Jackson in Coffin of the Iron Mountain so I could see him get obliterated.
Like,
Wouldn't be enough to
dude, imagine someone going, well, but my durability inside your domain expansion. We're like, oh, dude, so you don't know how domain expansions work.
And I came into this video more rooting for Percy Jackson.
Yeah.
I want to see Jogo just fucking Coffin of the Iron Mountain him at this point so I can have him go 24 tons of megatons of TNT, huh?
stop him. And while Hanami's domain is largely an unknown entity in this discussion, their relativity to Jogo at best implies that they too wouldn't have attacks potent enough to take him down. Shoot, if Dagon traps him in his domain, it'll be the worst thing that he ever does, because the son of Poseidon is making that squid's domain his new home, and giving Percy the little ocean break he needed to fight the rest of the verse at 120%.
I will completely agree. I don't think if Dagon gets Percy in his domain, I do think Percy just beats him because of the healing factor of water.
Well, yeah, and I think actually that'd be a really cute part in the book. Like, Percy's really struggling against some people, and then he gets to Dagon and Dagon domain expansions, and he just goes, "Oh, thank God, water."
Yeah, I will agree with this take. I mean, good job, man. You, the easiest take so far in the video, the water guy loses to the water god's son.
Yeah.
Of his full power. I could see characters like Maki and Toji having a few cool sword slashes with Percy, but even the pinnacle of pure physicality of the verse gets quickly overwhelmed by the son of the sea god. Of the entire
Insane. Just I just don't agree. Toji's so fast that the Six Eyes can't keep track of him, and yeah, it's because he doesn't have curse energy, but the Six Eyes also increases your perception. Absolutely fucking nuts that he thinks that Toji is not. I think that Percy is more skilled with swords and with combat, like in general military fighting combat with weapons than
general martial combat.
Yeah. I believe he's better than Toji at that because demigods train differently and they have different aptitudes. But in terms of physicality, Toji stomps the ground and causes concrete to come up and then pokes the little debris fast enough to kill things. The amount of speed and strength that requires has never been, like, no.
But
if Percy did something like that, like, if Rick Riordan wrote a new book and Percy did something like that, people would go, I don't have interest in the series anymore. Percy's too strong. Like, Percy's never going to be threatened by anything. If
you had to get rid of the Stygian blessing in your book to make the combat at least feel somewhat balanced, you can't have fucking Percy just speed blitzing people like that.
Yeah.
Entire Jujutsu Kaisen verse, I can honestly only see a handful of characters causing Percy trouble or outright stopping him. Sukuna and Gojo are on the list for obvious reasons, but outside of that, Mahito, Takaba...
Okay, hey. Mahito. Takaba, because of what he thinks is funny. I think Percy Jackson is a funny guy and he'd be willing to go get along with the joke. I actually think he would Kenjaku it. I think Percy would figure out what's going on and he would make a funny joke and go along with it and he'd be able to beat Takaba that way. So I actually disagree with you there. But Mahito destroys him.
Yeah, Takaba only gets... Takaba's main person he wants to fight is the super serious people.
Yeah.
Maharaga, Yuki, and maybe...
Really interesting that you think... Okay, that is so interesting to say, actually. You think that Maharaga gives Percy trouble, but Toji stands no chance. I just think that's really, really interesting. Okay.
Hikari are all characters that, if not beating Percy, at least have the proper hacks to be addressed explicitly in this video. Mahito is tough because idle transfiguration makes him vulnerable to damage. Takaba and the comedian is a pain in the ass to deal with. Maharaga's adaptation could be very tricky to go up against in a prolonged exchange. Yuki can blow up the planet and take you with it if you aren't careful. Yuta has amped up curse speech to halt Percy's movement, and Hikari would also be an annoying ass opponent solely because of his regeneration. For the entirety of this video, I've been gassing up Percy, and rightfully so, but one thing I'm not going to do is lie, because let's just call it
Hey man, one Google search and gassing up Percy Jackson, rightfully so. I don't know, bro. You've been lying a little bit.
Hey man,
You used movie feeds at one point? I don't know.
I will admit, I don't think you did it maliciously.
No.
I definitely think you should maybe read the things that you Google.
a spade. If Percy can't physically overwhelm his opponents, he's not really going to beat them because he's just not smart enough to deal with a lot of the curse techniques that these characters have. It's not so much that Percy is dumb, but more that he isn't a super strategical genius like Sukun or Annabeth, and also comes from a verse with much
I don't know why that's just really funny, like, to put Sukuna and like, I get what he's going for, but I just can't help but imagine, like, Sukuna and Annabeth, like, having a really serious, like, strategy meeting.
So, the opponent's coming at us. What should we do? Oh, we should probably move our troops around the flank and do all these other things. Sukuna, what do you think we should do? Cleave. Dismantle. Cleave.
Yeah. Well, okay, I see. So we'll move the battlements over here and
Malevolent Shrine.
Oh, well, that is a good strategy, I suppose.
Cleave.
And Percy has had to outsmart his opponents plenty of times in order to fucking win. But, sure. I mean, I don't think he's a theoretical physicist. He would struggle with Gojo's technique.
Abilities that he has more background information on. Practically speaking, Percy wouldn't really need all that much intelligence against Yuki, Maharaga, and Hikari simply due to his ability to overwhelm them before they could retaliate. Yuki...
every time he says it,
he thinks he can... He thinks Percy's gonna be physically overwhelming Maharaga and Yuki. Yuki who can make, like, infinite mass, and Maharaga who's just gonna be adapting to... Percy has like 4 attacks. It's water gun, hydro pump, then close combat, and fucking cross slash. Like, those are his movesets.
Like, it's not gonna take Maharaga that long to adapt to normal sword slash. Like.
And remember, the more simple...
I feel like they're equating this to, like, oh, it took Maharaga this long to adapt to cleave and dismantle, and it's like, those are techniques.
Yeah.
That's not just Toji slicing it with a basic katana.
Oh, and you know what's really interesting to note about that? It only took 2 turns of the wheel to adapt to cleave. You know how many turns of the wheel it took to adapt to Gojo's Infinity? 8. So adapting to a sword slash would take 1 turn. And if he hasn't already adapted to that in his really long life. Because Maharaga keeps his adaptations.
You know?
You don't think Maharaga's ever been slashed by a sword or a cursed tool?
I think that's a really good point. He's probably already adapted to sword slashes.
Yeah.
He would 100% have probably been hit by a piercing blood, so, like, the piercing water would be the same thing.
Yeah. I mean, and again, even if he wasn't, it wouldn't take a whole lot to adapt to it.
Percy's not going to be able to use blood manipulation on Maharaga.
Yeah.
You could still threaten to blow up the planet with her technique if she's beaten before landing.
No, this guy's 100% selling me on. No, fuck that, dude. Maharaga fucking washes him. What are you talking about, dude?
Yeah.
Fucking you've convinced... Video man, you've convinced me of the opposite point.
And I think Yuki... I don't know if Percy has a way to deal with just getting infinitely heavy and shit. I don't know.
I mean, he's gonna say he held up the sky.
any hits, but in that scenario, the conclusion of this match is simply that it's a draw. Maharaga's adaptation takes too much time to take place, and Percy
Too much time to take place against the techniques we've seen, like Cleave, one of the highest level techniques in the series, and Infinity, the highest level technique in the series.
he would deal with him in a matter of moments anyway.
You're
Hikari,
insane.
particularly in Jackpot, could be difficult for Percy to deal with due to the speed of his RCT, but we've seen
All right, okay, bro. How are you gonna look at me and say that Maharaga takes too long to adapt, but Hikari rolling for jackpots is going to survive long enough to get to his jackpot for the RCT?
No, he's assuming that Hikari just starts the fight off in Jackpot,
Cool.
I guess.
seen Percy deal out a few head chopping attacks before, and in the worst case scenario, he simply
Also, God, I know this is like a power scaling verse, but it's just so weird to hear like Percy Jackson would just like cut off his head. It's like, dude, I don't know,
Because
man.
he would have all of the intricacies on how to be RCT.
Right? Yeah, and also it's just like Percy just going for like super high lethal moves is so like. It's so strange for me to hear. Like, I get it. I do it too. Like, Goku wouldn't just like instantly teleport on someone and Hakai them, but it's his method of beating them. But man, it is just so weird and jarring to hear him say like, you know, and Percy would just go straight for the head and kill him and leverage their family as emotional damage.
But here's the problem: like, anytime we talk about that kind of stuff, we always say the statement, if they were bloodlusted, or his only manner of beating them is by doing this thing, which is out of character. He's not making that distinction. He's just saying, oh, well, Percy would do that.
Yeah. I do think that's a fair point, because the only times he really goes for lethal is against like actual monsters. Like, yeah, I think that Percy would be driven to go for lethal attacks against Sukuna after seeing what Sukuna's done, but like against Gojo, we're kind of getting to the point of like Goku and Superman. Nobody would win because they'd go get a hot dog together. Yeah, I know, but it is weird to just frame it like this.
Well, we're not trying to do the, oh, well, the good guy wouldn't fight the good guy, but can you not have a level of understanding in saying that it's kind of disingenuous to the versus matchup to say, oh, with this character, we're going to just go ahead and highball him to where he has all this stuff, and then we're also going to presume he knows how to counter the strategy of the versus healing, and he's going to go for that lethal metric at the first available instance instead of testing his opponent like every other series has shown these characters to do.
You know what it is? I think it's almost like an isekai mindset. Like he's in the mindset that Percy Jackson would be like isekai'd into Jujutsu Kaisen with all the meta knowledge that we have. And I'm gonna be honest, I think a lot of people could do a lot of great things in Jujutsu Kaisen just with their meta knowledge of the universe and being isekai'd in. But like, you know what I mean? Like, it's almost like his mentality is like Percy Jackson himself is approaching all these fights from a very meta perspective. It's like, well, Percy Jackson's gonna instantly go for the head because RCT can't work. And it's like, whoa. Percy wouldn't fucking know that.
Yeah, he would have to spend enough time fighting him to be able to figure out that any attack aside from one to the head would get instantly healed back. And in that entire time for him trying to figure that out, he would be taking damage.
Yeah, or maybe not. Maybe he has a Stygian blessing, so the opponent at the same time is trying to figure out why Percy isn't taking damage. We could actually have an interesting fight, rather than just, oh, he just speed blitzes him. You're so boring.
he weathers the storm for 4 minutes and cooks him in base.
I mean, because we can go the exact same route. Sure, Gojo speed blitzes him by teleporting behind him and blasting him with red from behind.
Well, yeah, Gojo instantly teleports out of line of sight, teleports right behind him, then domain expansions, infinite voids him, and then hollow purples him.
Yeah, it's like I mean, if we just give the character the meta knowledge on where to hit them for an instant kill, sure.
Nobara asks Gojo to teleport her right next to Percy. She snags a bit of his hair, or she just asks Gojo to get a bit of his hair, and then he gives it to her, and then she straw doll techniques it and one shots Percy.
Yeah, just like, come on, man. Like, if we're gonna at least do the Versus series, can we? Even if you're gonna wank the character, can they at least come at it from an equal standpoint?
Oh yeah, just wank both really hard and let's have a really high level fucking big fight. But yeah, this is really boring. And yeah, we're not getting to any really cool, interesting matchups. Like, why didn't you bring up Nobara? And you're not gonna spend a whole lot of time on Mahito because I wouldn't either. Mahito fucking rapes Percy.
You just speech is an ability that I thought could probably be effective against Percy, but in revisiting some material from the wider Riordan verse, specifically the Demigods and Magicians crossover, it seems that Percy is extremely resilient to all forms of magic, to the point that it even confuses a very experienced and talented magician in Carter Kane. Now,
okay, so he does have mind hack resistance. Okay.
Well, I mean, he has magical resistance. But I haven't read that book, but also, curse speech isn't magic. It's a jujutsu technique, just like anyone else. It wouldn't be considered magic.
Well, I mean, to be fair, remember, if we're doing the transition for...
Well, no. I mean, the point I'm making is that there's demigod energy, there's godly energy, that there's, divine blood that runs through the veins. That's... Magic is its whole other thing in a whole different universe that apparently he crosses over with. But magic is not going to, like, you know what I mean? Like, we're already equating divine blood and immortal power to jujutsu, to cursed energy. Magic would not be cursed energy. Like, magic would be magic. Like, I would assume that there could be magic in Jujutsu Kaisen, and it wouldn't be cursed energy. Like, it would be its own different thing. Does that make any sense? It'd be kind of the same thing with, like, Ki and magic aren't the same thing because magic actually exists in the Dragon Ball universe.
Okay, I kind of see what you're saying.
Like, I'm not comfortable calling, like, because then we're getting to the real awkward thing. It's like, okay, well then, what? Because Percy's very highly magical resistant, and Asta's very highly magical resistant, then no technique can work on them because a series called Sorcery Fight. Everybody's using magic. It's like, I don't know. I don't know if that's a really fair interpretation of what's going on. This isn't magic. This is some technique. This is jujutsu. This is, some sacred art. It's not the same. And we're just going to equate speech to magic here, which is weird.
This magical resistance only counts for anything if you're applying cross-verse logic here, but this battle really only happens under weird circumstances anyway, and comparing magic to sorcery in this instance isn't that far off. Multiple times in the book...
Yeah, see, he said sorcery, not jujutsu. I wonder why he did that. It's because Jujutsu Kaisen means sorcery fight, and he was very particular about saying sorcery instead of jujutsu, because sorcery and magic sound a lot more similar. It's almost like direct translations don't give us the real intent. Because when you hear Jujutsu Kaisen, are you thinking sorcery fight, really? I mean, they're called Jujutsu sorcerers, I know, but I am not comfortable with calling cursed energy at all similar to... I would say cursed energy is closer to divine power, like in the Percy Jackson series, because it is hereditary. I don't know. Maybe that's just me, but...
I don't really know. It's one of those weird ones where, like, I'm a level with you. I never, like, even the whole, like, cursed energy thing, I kind of just shrug at and being like, okay, sure, that's the power system, I guess.
Yeah.
I mostly just view it as like, okay, they use a bunch of... I really think about it more just like a bunch of Kekkei Genkais from Naruto, honestly.
I mean, especially with the fact that in Jujutsu Kaisen, it seems like abilities are a lot more lineage-based. Like, you have whole clans that inherit, different abilities. But, I mean, yeah, if you want to equate magic to sorcery, fine. But, I mean, at that point, it just starts turning really lame. But, sure.
book series, particularly The Last Olympian, Percy has been shown to be able to resist magic, so cursed speech, while definitely an attack option, definitely wouldn't be enough to stop him permanently. This leaves Mahito, Takaba, Sukuna, and Gojo, and they're ranked in ascending order of difficulty for Percy to deal with.
Wait, in descending order or ascending? Hold on a second.
To sorcery in this instance isn't that far off. Multiple times in the book series, particularly The Last Olympian, Percy has been shown to be able to resist magic, so cursed speech, while definitely an attack option, definitely wouldn't be enough to stop him permanently. This leaves Mahito, Takaba, Sukuna, and Gojo, and they're ranked in ascending order.
Ascending. Mahito being the easiest? I don't agree. Mahito's the hardest. Well, Mahito and Gojo are the hardest because he can't touch either of them. He can't hurt either of them, and they can both one-shot him. Then it would be Sukuna, who's like, I don't even know why we're saying that we're making distinction. All three of them, I don't. At least he can make physical contact with Sukuna, but Sukuna's just forever RCTing his shit, and he just cleaves him. And Takaba again, like Percy's just gonna go along with the joke. Why is Takaba in this group? Percy, like, Takaba would be a better target if we're talking about, like, Jason Grace. Because Jason Grace is a lot more serious and, you know, like, kind of Boy Scouty. Percy's a sarcastic, funny asshole. So, I don't know. Let's see what the argument is.
Of difficulty for Percy to deal with. Mahito is obviously an issue because of his soul invulnerability, and while I initially thought that there would be no arguments for Percy being able to damage Mahito and his soul, revisiting the story once more disproved that yet again. Not only has Percy survived cuts from blades that literally rip the soul from the body, but the very nature of his sword's material is stated to dissolve a demigod's essence from the inside out, with it obviously having a similar effect on monsters. The first feat demonstrates a resilience to soul-based attacks, meaning that Mahito will not be one-shotting him with idle transfiguration, and the second move gives some level of credence to Riptide, giving Percy the ability to harm characters beyond their conventional durability, much like
no, because this would be like saying that cursed tools have cursed energy that, you know, attack the being. Like, if we're gonna equate it, it would be Riptide is a cursed tool, not a, like, insanely high tier, like, I'm not gonna say that Riptide is on the fucking level of, like, the inverted Spear of Heaven. And no, I don't. I think the inverted Spear of Heaven could hit Mahito and kill him, maybe. But any other cursed weapon is not killing Mahito, and I don't think Riptide has shown any feats that's going to make it capable of hitting Mahito's soul directly. It's not just that the material is, huh?
The thing I will say is, I personally think Backbiter could hit Mahito.
No, we read the wiki. It doesn't target the soul.
Soul Split Katana or Maharaga's Sword of Extermination. If that statement is too ambiguous, though, you can pull from his many trips to the underworld
Wait, you're trying to compare Riptide to
characters beyond their conventional durability, much like Toji in Maki Soul Split Katana or...
Yeah, you're trying to compare Riptide to, like, the highest levels of cursed tools in the verse, which is absolutely butt fucking insane. Riptide isn't even the best celestial weapon in his verse. It's not even close. It's strong. You know, it's a good weapon for sure. It's his trusty boy, but there are weapons in this series that are better than his. This is insane. Sorry, trying to hit the play button.
Maharaga's Sword of Extermination. If that statement is too ambiguous, though, you can pull from his many trips to the underworld, in which it's made clear that Percy can not only perceive the souls of the dead with no corporeal form, but he even fights Hades' army, showing that he can combat things not limited to the physical. If this translates to hurting Mahito's soul like I think it implies, then Percy dices up these human...
He's fighting, like, the physical corpses of the army. Like, he's fighting the bone men. Like... I can fight Draugr in Skyrim. That doesn't mean I'm gonna hit someone's soul. I need Soul Rend for that, or whatever the fuck shot it is. You know, like, oh god, he hit an undead creature once, so you know he killed a zombie once, so he can basically hit Mahito's soul, and like he's able to perceive the dead souls in the underworld because he's in the underworld. and some people can see through the mist better than others in certain situations. Percy's never been particularly gifted at seeing through the mist, but this might be one of those areas where he's more gifted. Maybe because Percy's brushed up with death so often that he's more capable of perceiving dead souls.
And curse and moves on with his day. If not, Percy gets trapped in a domain and loses to Mahito high diff. This just leaves Takaba, Gojo, and Sukuna, 3 characters that I really don't think Percy has any hope of winning against. The comedian is just too niche of an ability for Percy to aptly respond to, leaving him the option of blitzing him before he gets a technique activated, or simply losing the war of attrition.
Or going along with the joke and making Takaba deactivate the technique willingly because he had a really good time. Hey man, you released this 2 days ago, right? 1 day ago? There's no excuse not to have that argument ready. If Kenjaku can think of the ability and react and start going along with the joke, a funny person like Percy who thinks on his feet a lot. Why am I wanking Percy here? It's so weird. It's like on the fights that... it's so enlightening to me, either the level of thinking that people have done or maybe how lost they are in their own wank whenever they have characters that win fights I don't think they should win and lose fights I don't think they should lose. Like he goes... Well, it really depends on if Riptide acts like Soul Split Katana or Maharaga's Extermination Blade. But, if it does and he beats Mahito, no problem. But I don't think he has any way of beating Takaba. Oh my god, dude. You there? Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I'm just giggling to myself about the fucking hyper wank and then the I don't know if he could beat Takaba, dude.
It's not that I think Takaba's weak, it's just like you want a serious person to fight Takaba. Percy's not that guy. Percy's a little goofy guy.
Sukuna wins if you think that his light speed scaling is valid, simply because that would make him relative to Percy in speed, and he has multiple attacks that would be able to wear down the demigod. It's only if you think Percy is essentially a blitz level difference above Sukuna that he's able to secure a W. Once again, assuming the relativity, typical...
But how? With what and how is he killing Sukuna?
He's just a riptide, dude.
But, I mean, how is he killing Sukuna?
He's slicing and dicing him.
RCT, though. And it's like, oh, he can only use it with the head's intact. Look, I'm going to be honest. Until I see his head get destroyed and him not RCT it, I'm going to assume that Sukuna can RCT even with his head destroyed. Like, I'm going to assume that Sukuna can RCT as long as his soul's intact. So, but that's just me.
I guess Sukuna is kind of like that guy, huh?
Well, I mean, I think Yuji would probably be capable of the same thing. I think Yuji's recent healing in the chapter might not be the fact that he learned RCT, but that Yuji has kind of figured out how to do it like Mahito, where Yuji's capable of perceiving his own soul and heals the damage done to it, or reconstitutes the shape of his body around what he thinks his soul should be. I think that'd be a really interesting way of healing. I like how Mahito heals. Mahito doesn't actually heal the damage. He just goes, well, you damaged my body, but I know my soul knows what my body should be like, so my soul will just reconstitute my body. Mm-hmm. It's like I'm not healing, I'm remaking myself. It's really cool. Oh, we tried to hit play at the same time.
Dismantle slices wouldn't work against Percy, or at least be enough to put him down, especially if he's still cloaked in the Curse of Achilles. But with Cleave adjusting to his durability, world-splitting slashes ignoring toughness altogether, a ceaseless domain
expansion, Malevolent Shrine, hit, target everything.
Expansion housing both types of attacks, and a fire arrow as the cherry on top, even Percy Jackson wouldn't be able to tank or avoid everything. And as for Gojo, he wins his fight against Percy for similar reasons that he wins a lot of his cross-verse battles. Infinity isn't getting bypassed, and Unlimited Void is too difficult to counter. Now, in the first round of this video, I left a particular character out of the individual discussions because, much like the rest of the verse, I think they get...
Wait, hold on. Confirmation that he had multiple runs of this video? Wait.
Oh boy. Alright, who are we thinking is going to be the character he's left out because he thinks they would beat him or something? We'll see.
I'm going to call Nobor.
Yeah, we'll see. I kind of see a skirt here.
Didn't cut through before doing anything of note, but I know that if I go this entire video without mentioning Higuruma...
Fucking goddamn.
I mean, yeah, Higuruma's a good pick because instant domain expansion, but he's just gonna say Percy's a real good boy. He hasn't done anything wrong, so.
Hiromi in some form or fashion. That's all y'all are going to be talking about down in the comment section. So in regards to his scaling particularly, it's pretty obvious that Higuruma doesn't in any way, shape, or form match up to Percy. Lowballing both of them, Percy is dozens and dozens of times faster than he is. Highballing both of them leads to a very similar conclusion, and even when being as generous as possible to Higgy while downplaying Percy leads to the demigod still having a very confident speed advantage. So much so that I would argue deadly sentencing isn't even opened before he's cut in twain.
So
he's
lame.
His domain on Sukuna, largely in part because he allowed for it, but even assuming that Percy gets caught and Riptide gets stolen, I shit you not that Percy is so strong relative to Higuruma that his comparatively ass hand-to-hand combat skills would be enough to decimate him in seconds. While Percy is far from skilled with his hands and is damn near featless, at least from what we've seen, he's still the body behind Riptide and physically capable of blocking strikes from the mountain stacking giants I mentioned earlier, meaning that in the best case scenario for Higuruma, confiscation and death penalty alike, Percy is running up to him, dodging every slash, and sending the lawyer to Hades with a mean-ass uppercut. While Higuruma's hacks are quite potent and his talent rivals that of Gojo Satoru, he doesn't have the proper mix of curse technique and physical stats to stand to Poseidon's sun and come out on top. At the end of it all, Percy isn't quite equipped with the moves to take on the entire Jujutsu Kaisen universe, but he certainly gets close, leaving only 3 characters alive after his first encounter with Jujutsu Society. If you enjoyed the video and want to see more versus battles like this, check out this playlist here and consider subscribing.
Alright. So I think the last thing we'll do is we're gonna scroll through these videos real quick and we're gonna see what the general receptiveness was. But
we gotta see the comments on this video though.
Not a great video. I think we have the obvious case of the Mount St. Helens math, and we wouldn't bring that up so much if you didn't use that as a huge crux. And then we have the whole problem of you're immediately assuming that because he fought giants who are at one point at a certain level of strength that maybe has been mythicized to some extent, that him fighting him in the current day is immediately equalized, which obviously we talked about the whole culture waning power discussion. But yeah, not a great video. Doesn't mean that you're not capable of making good videos. We are going to check out some more of your content in the coming days. But real quick, let's wrap it up with some comments.
I will say I did like the video. A comment I wanted to say towards the beginning, but I didn't get a chance to say it. I do think this guy does really well whenever it comes to his thumbnail game. I think his thumbnails are really good and really eye-catching. I think he does a really good job of that. But main point in the video, yeah. We really harped on the Mount St. Helens thing, but like, dude, you really can't reference, like, I think some advice I would give is if you're going to be making a video like this where you're going to be drawing from a specific example more than 3 times, you should really double check and make sure the source you're pulling from is extremely accurate. Because if a majority of the points in which you're coming from stem from one thing, the moment you lose that crux, your entire argument just falls to pieces.
Yeah. A lot of the comments are pretty positive. I mean, we've got no fucking way you're power scaling Percy Jackson now. I was not expecting this. I mean, it doesn't even seem like, super negative. But, yeah, we have just a lot of people really, really happy about it. And then this comment, it's so annoying to me. Percy's the definition of standing on business. Since he was 12, he's been a smoked demon. Bro got amnesia and immediately stood on business and chose violence against a god of war in an enemy camp. Bro didn't even remember his beef. Smoked demon. Bro walked through hell and didn't get enough smoke he craved. Like, Jesus Christ, dude. For real, no cap. Ohio Kiat. Yeah, capable of our Avatar-style bloodbending, but doesn't do it in the books because his girlfriend asked him not to.
Okay, comment here, talking about saying that this was overlooked, that a lot of Percy's abilities and feats only work on mythological monsters, with it being explicitly stated that celestial bronze only harms gods, demigods, or monsters, while harmlessly passing through and bouncing off normal people. Yes, We have already equated that they are going to be similar so that we can do the versus matchup.
Yeah,
We,
that's what I. It
can
basically, we're
understand
gonna.
that.
Yeah, basically what we're gonna do with Riptide is Riptide's gonna be, you know, a higher than average curse tool.
You you are being fucking glasses emoji by doing that, man. Come on.
Yeah, yo, my boy Percy Jackson is that strong. I have to forget. I admit how OP he is, and glad to be reminded how much of a badass he is. Thanks for the reminder. Hey man, you shouldn't take people's word as law. You should go do the research yourself. Oh yeah, I found the comment. Um, as Percy Goatson unsheathed his riptide, Sukuna struck back in fear. Goatson then said, "Lay down, Fraud Kuna. You are weak." Bow, bow, bow.
Some other feats that aren't really quantifiable. Percy breaks out of slow time from Kronos and Luke's body.
More importantly, does Percy Jackson have enough drip to exist in JJK? In Yuji's first few appearances alone, his drip is at least B tier. By the end of the series, Percy's drip has improved, but he just can't put that shit on. His drip is C tier at best. For all we know, curse energy could be directly proportional to swagger or exuberance, mayhaps. This would handicap Percy. However, Percy's Riz could make up for this. Throughout the series, he rizzes up the baddest females in the vicinity. His best ribbed is probably when he claps Calypso's sandy cheeks. Weighing the pros of Percy's Riz and the cons of his pitiful drip, I'd say he's A tier to low S tier. In a two-man situation, Gojo and Skibidi. My brain is fucking broken. Okay.
Another comment says he's talking about how he thinks he could possibly beat Gojo or Takuba. For the point of saying Gojo, he says, while unlimited void is nasty business, Percy held up the world, which is stated to be an insane mental feat of endurance. As for Infinity, well, he can't necessarily beat that outright. But if he has the Curse of Achilles, Gojo can't really do anything to him in return. Hey.
Not true.
Hey, area of effect, man.
Well, this is something else I want to cover here. I mean, one thing to note is that every human-like organism in JJK has water in them. Percy's pulled water out of Jason's lung before. Infinity can be bypassed if attack spawns on or in Gojo, so there's a win con there. Since Gojo needs water inside of him, the only real problem is Takaba, to be honest. Okay, so Infinity does not Infinity can be bypassed if attacks spawn on or in Gojo. So no, you're probably getting this from a YouTube video where they try to explain how the cleave worked, where they first try to explain where maybe the cleave was spawning on top of them at the time of origination, but we now know that's not true. Sukuna basically cut through reality in order to hit Gojo. He didn't target Gojo, he targeted the world itself that Gojo happened to exist in that space. So that whole part of your argument falls apart, and I don't know, I'm gonna give Gojo the good faith to understand cursed energy manipulation and be able to prevent what would be the equivalent of cursed energy manipulation inside his own body. This is actually a good comment. Most part, this is totally epic. Didn't know I needed this video, though I do contest the statement that Percy isn't strategic. From book one, he's able to do strategy and pit and wits on par with Annabeth. Okay, no, Annabeth has always been smarter than him in terms of strategy. He's more of an in the moment, in the pocket decision maker. Give Annabeth more time, she'll come up with a better answer. But to the point that by the last Olympian, he's the one primarily in charge of ordering around Olympus and CHP's forces during the battle for Manhattan. Yeah, he's the general. He's not the strategist. You know who prepares the defenses and assigns people to what area they're going to be in? Annabeth. Percy's the general. He's the wartime guy who's directing forces in that moment of what he needs. But Annabeth is one of the main persons, or one of the main people helming the defenses. Well, I think that's Gojo solos though. Yeah, true. I think that's about it. It's about a 2.5 hour stream, or not stream, I guess, because this is pre-recorded. But 2.5 hours for a 25-minute video, which is about on par for us. So other than that, I think the next time that we'll be here, we'll be covering probably this guy's first video, and then we'll probably look to see what his most popular video of all time was, and that'll sound out. So far, Broken Ronin, you lost game one. It is a best of 3. I will tell you, it is a match. So you lost game one pretty handily. You got 4-stocked, but doesn't mean that you can't get a counter pick here and really start gaining momentum. So
well, see, here's the problem. We're about to go to his first video, so it is already going to be almost free game. But we will say that the first video that we're going to look at from his channel, we're going to be a lot more light on it, just because this is going to be the first one. We want to make sure that we're not going too hard on it. We do want to thank you guys for tuning into this. This has been the Content Revenue Service, your government mandated content washing. We're going to make sure these people are out here. We got to raise the standards of the community. We have too many Pokemains. We have too many Hassan Pikers coming through here. They can
Hassan Piker. Sorry.
We have too many Mr. Chairs. We are going to be auditing all the Mr. Chairs.
I love Mr. Chair, dude. What are you talking about?
I love him too. We got to audit him. He has a lot of back taxes he hasn't paid yet.
Dude, I love Hassan more than XQC.
All right, guys. Thank you for tuning in. We want to say thank you just this last time. As well, be sure to check out our next video. This is going to be part 1 of 3 whenever we're going to be finishing up the series on Broken Ronin.
And remember, we're always watching.
Like, comment, subscribe. Ring the bell. Ring the bell. Ring the fucking bell.
Don't. You don't have to do it. Don't listen to it. Don't be peer pressured. Bye. 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 Bye.
Later, guys.
Boop.